Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
From the weekend, ladies and gentlemen, this is Spaced Out Radio, and we bring the woo to you each and every night. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Zeta Reticuli, yes, the little alien grays. That's what we are getting into tonight with our guest from Australia, Paul Hamden. We'll bring him in momentarily, but first, let's do the roll call. Say hello to everyone in our chat rooms. Race fan in the gold medal position. Gorgeous Cosmic Fleur takes home the silver with Nicola in the bronze medal spot. Mama Susan, Grand Paul Holland from Australia. Welcome to the show. Hello there, beautiful Dirt Road. Logan L., Nicola, and Michael Morris, thank you for joining us as we continue on with our roll call tonight. Mike Roberts is here. He'll be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Awesome Ann Palmer. Coyote, how are you? All the way from Prince George, British Columbia. Yes, home of the Spruce Kings and the Cougars. There we go. James Smith, how are you? Penman is here. Penman will be signing autographs after the show as well. He only signs in fountain pen, people, just so you know. Kevin, Gorgeous Carol, John Swan, Simon Wales from Australia, Jason, 688, how are you all? Thanks for joining us. Hi, Double Tim, Philip Bacca, 405er, Todd Purdon. Nice to have you all here. Awesome. Arlene Adkinzel. How are you? Magnus Zerum. Good to see you. Kawhi Snyder. Nice to have you back. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. All right, let's continue on. Grant Tavius, the gorgeous and talented Kira has returned. Wes H. What is going on as we continue on here with roll call? Vash the Impaler. Nice to have you back. And who else we got? Good morning, Commonwealth Andrew. Good to see you. Apollo, how are you, man? Doug Shelby, nice to have you here. Continuing on with our roll call. Richard Elmore, good to see you. And thank you, Apollo, for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. Remember, the Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on a nightly basis here on Spaced Out Radio. So thank you so much. The gorgeous Diesel Girl from the Fraser Valley has returned. The stunning Melissa Nicole, thank you for joining us. Joey Hayes, good to see you. J.R. Hodge, nope, no Tic Tacs, man, sorry. Dirty Filth, good to see you, man. $5,900. Digger Dog, nice to have you back. Uncle Dale and his Power Stash are here. Remember, if you're in Austin, Texas, and you see Uncle Dale, rub his Power Stash for good luck right through tax time. Continuing on with roll call, we have our man Millennium. How are you? Unordinary Made Ordinary with Julie McVeigh. Welcome to the show. And who else do we have here? T-Rex Pam Smith, looking good tonight. Thank you for joining us. And greetings, Major Lee. Thanks for coming on in. Sweet Tony D from the UK. Russell Gill, good to see you guys. The gorgeous Anne Celine, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. We send you love right back. Boom to gorgeous Bama. How are you? Thank you for coming on in. Jeremy Jones, how are you, my man? And what kind of snark and sarcasm are you going to bring to the chat room tonight? I'm very curious because it's been good lately. The stunning Stacy Tillman Mask, how are you? There's our man Super Quest. And who else we got? Devin, Poetically Mistaken. Gorgeous Jenny. The stunning Nicole Perron. Good to have you here. War Eagle, what's happening? Pack Woman on Twitch, good to see you. Stunning Michelle C. from Australia. Ian McFadden, Don Hendrickson, nice to have you here. Gorgeous Kathy Evans, what's happening? Steve Wolf, looking good tonight. Iron Dogger, nice to have you here. Mr. Moocher, it's been a while. How you been doing? Nice to see you back. And who else we have? Zach Martin, it's been a while for you. Nice to have you return. And who else? Oh, we're caught up. Remember, a great way to support our show here is through the Super Chat. Be like Apollo 11 right there on the screen. Be like him. It really helps out what we do. You can also, if you're new here, hi, Neil, the security guy. Welcome to the show. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell because we are here 7 days a week. Lynn Wallington comes in Saturday and Sunday with Spaced Out Weekend at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, followed by After Hours with Gemma, John, and Big Willie. All right, we're down to a few seconds here. We're going to get going. Hey, Mr. Eon, how you doing, buddy? And Larry A., here we go. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, as we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out the Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A great lineup for you tonight. Paul Hamden comes in to talk about his relationship with the Zeta Reticuli aliens. Yes, aliens. Who doesn't love this topic? I don't know. I love it personally. Then, hour number 3, we head to the swamp with Swamp Dwellers. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio comes in with the Cryptid Report. Shirky Poo's got the news, and we got the thought of the Dave. Paul Hamden is a lifelong contactee who has developed a very strong evidence-based relationship with the Zeta race. The Zetas have healed many people through Paul's connections with him and have worked tirelessly to support humanity. There have been craft physically appearing to Paul and others, and twice he has seen the occupants of those craft up close. At one craft landing, the beings walked around all of those present. There have been many books written by Paul and his co-author, William Treuniet, such as A Primer of the Zeta Race and the Zeta Interviews. Paul's latest book, called The Zeta Mind, is a shorthand book for individuals who wish to learn how to safely contact ET races. Oh, we are going to have some fun tonight. Paul Hamden, welcome to Spaced Out Radio, all the way from Australia. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Dave.
Very glad to have you here, my friend, as this next couple of hours is going to be very informative for anybody who is wanting to make contact. Well, let's start right there. Is making contact with extraterrestrials a good thing?
That's a really big question. I'd suggest that if people spend the time to clear their own minds, do a bit of meditation, understand what they might be getting themselves into, then yeah, it's a great thing. But I think a lot of people just jump into it too quickly, and in doing so, they maybe get into things they don't understand.
Now, anything to do with extraterrestrials really is a flip of the coin. I was always taught right from the start that you really have to put your intentions out there for what kind of race you want. You know, you want something of peace, love, and light. You don't want something that's going to come here, take you, and maybe harm you or rip you apart or feed you for dinner or never see your family again.
That's true, and your intention's everything, but I think the problem is, it's like, I'm trying to think of a way to explain this. Somebody wants to sell you a car, but they don't want to show you what it looks like. You've got to take it on face value. And so you've got to try, in some respects, to get some information that's credible and evidential from the beings before you allow them to come to you. So imagine this, so I work as a medium as well. A spirit person comes, they give evidence, the person that's in the sitting can verify that evidence, can't they? Because it's a spirit person that they may, have known. But the problem with extraterrestrials is that you don't know them. And so how do you evidence that contact? That becomes the real issue. So what I say to people is, if you're told something by a race or by a being, that you write it down, ask them, how or when they're going to make this occur, and then you watch what takes place. And the reason I say that is because with evidence, it's actually possible to get evidence from extraterrestrials. And until people realize that and actually really challenge their contact, you're going to get a lot of spirit people that are pretending to be extraterrestrials as well as extraterrestrials that probably don't mean very good for you at all. So,
well, let's go back in time a little bit here to when this all started for you. You're a lifelong contactee. Do you remember your first contact?
I was about, it's all a bit mixed up, and I'm pretty sure it is for most people. So about 18 months old, I was seeing beings walking around the room when I was in bed. But the thing was, I'm not sure whether they were spirit people or extraterrestrials. It was only when I was 5 that I found myself outside of the house, which was locked, laying on the front lawn. And I was very upset because I realized that I'd been unceremoniously dumped here on the planet. And so, as a 5-year-old, how does a 5-year-old even have that concept? It was dark. I was looking at the sky. I wanted to go home. I didn't even know how I got outside the house. Also around that time, I started to be able to astral travel as well, so I could leave my body. And as a child, I didn't have any fear of leaving my body. I didn't even understand the concepts. And I'd be moving around the different astral environments, find myself outside in a hallway, in the house, and in the morning wake up and my body was with me. It had come to me as well. I don't remember ever going back to my bed. Believe it, when I was 6, I built a craft out of a cardboard box because I was going home. Okay, I had enough. Also, then when I was 7, I was told that I'd been shot through the leg with an arrow. Of course, the problem with that was when I actually pulled the arrow out, the blood actually just came straight out of the stick. So, of course, that was a screen memory. So a lot of the contact that I was getting earlier on was screen memories, and I understand why the Zetas do screen memories. It's pretty easy. Then when I was 18, I was up on a 3rd story level in a unit at the kitchen window, and a craft appeared. It looked like it was about 10 meters long, maybe 10 meters away, I don't know. But I said to my mate that was with me, "Hey, do you want to come over and have a look at this thing?" Because this was before, computers and the internet and this sort of thing. And he came over and we had a look, and I said, "What do you think that is?" And he goes, "I don't know, maybe it's a craft, because it looked like a Tic Tac, it was just sitting there." We called them cigars back then, anyway. And interestingly, I looked out the window and I could see down, and there was a car coming, and they drove around underneath the end of the craft because we were on the very end of the building. They came upstairs, started pounding on the door, screaming, "There's a spaceship or a craft out there or something." And then the 4 of us stood there and watched this craft. Now, this means that it's already been 3 or 4 minutes. This has been in Melbourne back in about 1976 or something. And we're all watching this thing, and suddenly the side of the craft, just a portion of it, goes clear, and there's 2 full extraterrestrial beings, about 6-7 foot, standing there watching us. Now, remember, we'd not seen these beings before ever on TV, magazines, or anything. And we're looking at them and we're going, what's this? Right? And we're looking at each other and we're talking about it. And the thing was, none of us were scared. That was the most interesting part about it. So anyway, next thing we know, they're gone. And we just sort of walk back into the lounge room, watch TV. We were all given screen memories as well, so all of us forgot that actually happened. 28 years old, I got what I would class as abducted. It was my first formal introduction. I got out of bed, got dressed. I thought I was going to work. I went to turn the light on. It was dark, and I heard this noise in the corner. I turned around, and a little Zeta, about 2 feet high, jumped on me. And I used to shovel concrete all day, so I was pretty strong. So I had one on one arm, and I had him. That was no problem. And then the second one, he jumped onto my other arm. So I had the two of them, but I was still okay. It wasn't an issue until the third one jumped on me, and I went down like a ton of bricks. And just, people go that the greys or the Zetas aren't very strong. 3 of them are stronger than a human. That's all it comes down to, So I don't know what happened then, but I woke up back in bed, but I had my clothes on backwards. So that was a bit funny. My shirt was on backwards and I was doing it. I still didn't realise though what was going on because the screen memories were still happening. When I was so I'm going to skip forward. When I was about 40, I just realised, I thought to myself, I'm not doing this anymore. So I really sat down, thought about it, and decided that the next time I was contacted, I was going to confront them about this, and I wasn't going to let them put me to sleep. So I wake up. There's 3 of them over the top of me, and I've said to them, do not put me to sleep. And they said, okay. And they were removing some technology, and a lot of abductees and contactees have technology. And the technology in the past was physical, whereas now it's etheric technology. So it's a bit different. As they pulled the technology out of the sinus cavity, because I wasn't asleep, it actually cut down all down the inside of my face, and I had blood coming out. But that was okay because I told them that I wanted this to take place. I was not going to be put to sleep anymore. And from that point on, the visits that I've had, I've never been asleep. Through that one instance, I was able to then start to communicate with them because they realised that I wasn't going to harm them. I wasn't going to fight back. And then they started to also want to talk to me about things. And I was able to go through a training process with them while I was awake, where they would come and they would start to train me how to allow them to speak through me. And this is where all the books have come from. And people would go, oh, that's just channeling. Yeah, I mean, that's up to people how they see that. But the first 20 seconds that they were with me, when they left, I was all burnt down the side of my face, the left side. And over 2 years, they managed to get me up to about, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes that they could be there. And each time that they came and did this training process with me, that was for contacting them, I'd always be burnt. And I had people with me in the room. So I always made sure I had about 6 or 7 people with me. They were able to see the Zetas transfigure over my face when I did this as well. So that was interesting. I happen to, probably there's some people in the chat room that have seen this happen before with me. And then over, say, maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 years of doing this, we got to 2 hours. And so they could talk through me for 2 hours. And I started letting people come and see this process take place. And they could talk to the Zetas. And William Treuniet then contacted me and asked if he could come over and speak to the Zetas, which he did. And he wrote a primer of the Zeta race with all the technical information that they gave him. And we also transcribed the book, the Zeta Interviews, which is about 500 or 600 pages. And that's only about 10% of what they've said. So, yeah, it's been really interesting. They've done a lot of healings with people, and they've been fairly successful as well. So, to me, it's all about having moved from that, what a person would consider to be abduction contact, all the way through to a situation where you can now actually not be taken anymore, but if they want to speak to you, they just come. There was a situation in New South Wales where I'd spent 2 weeks vectoring in a craft in my sittings, and I invited about 20 people to come, and that's a whole story in itself, but the craft did land and they came. They walked around everybody. So some of the people that, I'd say at least 70% of the people that were at that craft landing, they were in an altered state. It was outside. We're all sitting in a circle. It's not unusual when you're confronted by extraterrestrials that you aren't altered in some way, especially consciously. And also the frequency of the craft also causes people to change their, what I class as the local construct of the mind. And a lot of people would black out, I guess. But a couple of people didn't, and I actually spoke to some of them the other day again. And one of them came onto a show or an interview that I was doing and said yes, that they were there. They didn't see them because they were a bit scared and had their eyes closed, but they could hear them walking around. And Zetas actually walked up and put their hands on everyone's shoulders as well. They physically touched everybody to prove that they were not interdimensional beings. And I think when we start to understand how they move in and out of the physical using compression, then we can start to understand that they're actually physical beings. But it's all to do with time, and it's all to do with how people perceive time, why when people have missing time, they may actually have grown a beard or, need to shave. Look, they've only been gone half an hour, but they've actually been gone 10 hours or something. And that's to do with the way that the Zetas use the time compression method. That's basically, there's a lot in that, Dave. I mean,
I feel like a kid at the candy store tonight. I really do. And I have so many questions for you regarding your contact. How did you get sought out by the Zetas? How did you first create contact with them?
30% of the human race are hybrids. So there's every 3 in 10 people that are out there watching this, you're all hybrids. You just don't know it. That's the first thing. So you have to ask yourself one simple question: where did you come from before you were born? And if you know your point of origin, then of course you can understand that part of your consciousness could be in symbiotic relationship with spirit people. So, you come from spirit realm. There's an agreement with extraterrestrials and spirit people to blend into a symbiotic relationship. Your consciousness moves into the physical form via the gestation process, and then you're born, and then you're a hybrid. Once you know that, then of course you can stop the fight, stop the arguments with the races, and you can start to actually work with them. Dave, it's like I take you to the doctors and give you a needle. If you're a child, you're probably not going to want it, But the thing is that, the doctor's trying to do the best thing for you, but you're struggling against getting the needle. I did the same thing. I've been on board craft before as a child. I actually met people that I know now in the physical when I was 8 years old. They were 8 years old. I was 8 years old. We all met on craft, and I know those people now. And they remember everything that happened on craft as well. So when you know these sorts of things, it's easy to build relationship with the race that you're from.
Absolutely. And I get that, and I can appreciate that. But while you're having contact, I remember when I first started having contact myself, my good friend Samantha Mowat stated to me that all the good comes with bad and sometimes ugly. Like once you put up that beacon that you have been taken and that you are one of the ones who've been selected, there are going to be times when other species come in and test you out, see everything, and you may not enjoy it very much. Have you had that happen to you?
Absolutely. So I'm also a trained trance medium. So the Zetas will put you under tests. They will test you. Yeah. So I also do remote viewing, and I had chosen to remote view somewhere where I knew the greys were. And I just want to explain something. The grey species has 63 races. 62 of those races have a collective consciousness. The abductors, the ones that abduct people against their free will, they're not part of the collective, and that's really important to understand that. So what I did was I purposely chose to remote view a specific base, and they saw me, I saw them. Next thing I know, wake up in the morning, got blood pouring out my nose, and when they had come, it was a real standoff between holding your consciousness and your ability to be able to hold yourself in consciousness while they are trying to force their will upon you. And if you can hold that consciousness, they will leave. They cannot manipulate you. So that was one thing I learned back then. But, you know, I would suggest that, yeah, you'll always be tested, but it's up to you and the training that you're given or you give yourself as to how you're going to defend yourself. Yeah.
We got 3 minutes before we have to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Paul Hamden is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Zeta Reticuli is our big topic of the night. Out of those species that other ones that you have been taken by, who has come by to say hello?
Okay, the Anunnaki, they spoke in their own language in ancient Sumerian to the citizen. We recorded it. I don't know ancient Sumerian. We've had Sirius A beings. We've had the Palladians come and speak. Wow. I don't know, maybe about 6 or 7 races, yeah.
You ever wonder why you?
I actually don't care why me. That's the difference.
Really?
Yeah,
That
I just don't care.
surprises me.
No, I believe that every person has the ability to contact other races. Yeah. But what stops people from contacting other races is either what they've been told to believe, what they fear they may encounter, yeah, or what they've mixed with some of the experiences that they've had. And some of those experiences have caused them to fear to step out into the unknown.
How come you don't care?
I think it gets to the point where you have been trained, and if you're trained, then it's not. I guess the fear's gone, and that's all that really matters. And to be honest, Dave, with UAP disclosure, what's about to take place in regards to the planet and consciousness, it's a good space to be in because you can understand from their perspective that they're going to disclose in specific ways as well. Someone say they've talked with others who were with me when the craft landed. There you go.
How close to you was that craft when it landed?
That craft would have been at least 50 meters, I'd suggest, away. It was a big craft because we've got a picture of the landing site, and it was heavy and it left a big indentation in the ground. It didn't have little legs that popped out or anything like that. The interesting thing was, Dave, and I know we've got to go in a minute, I think.
In about 20 seconds.
We should talk about what happened when that craft landed when we come back.
As someone who has seen a craft on the ground, we're going to have a very good talk when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Paul Hamden is our guest tonight. If you go to Amazon, you can find his books all on alien interaction and the Zetas as well. I highly recommend, if you want to get in contact, this is one of the people you want to talk about. UFO landings right in front of you. How much more exciting does it get than that? How would you react if all of a sudden Marvin the Martian dropped his spaceship right in front of you? We'll find out when we return on Spaced Out Radio next. All right, we're clear, man. Just remember the audience can hear us on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll try not to cough.
Coughing's fine now.
I
But,
might just have a leg stretch if everyone. Hey, on YouTube.
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right, no problem.
Go right ahead. I can handle these people. They're all right.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
Yeah. Oh my God! I can't wait to talk about the landings. Oh, I'm excited. 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 Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do. Where'd that go? Thought I did that. Oh well. Swang, and welcome to the show. What a load of crap, he says. Well, then why are you here? Answer your own question. What a load of crap that you're here. Shadows of the Moon, Paul Vidal. Doesn't Paul Vidal sound like he should have his own shampoo? Mm-hmm. That was a very fast half hour. I agree, people. I agree. Hey, I want to all remind you that we are going to Las Vegas for the SOR fan party on April 22nd to 24th. We want all of you to come on down if you can and join us. We are going to be hanging out all weekend. We got a schedule up on our website. We're even going to be doing a live show in Vegas that Lynn Wallington is going to put on. Yeah, we're going to get some pretty cool guests there. We're going to lock that up at the Golden Nugget on Saturday, the 23rd. I highly suggest, I think we got about 20 confirmed so far. If you go to info@spacedoutradio.com, that's info@spacedoutradio.com. Let us know that you are coming. You have to be 100% coming, because we're going to bring you an SOR swag bag to go along with that as well. So we appreciate that. Thank you very much. And yeah, we're going to have a good time here on Spaced Out Radio in Vegas, April 22nd to 24th. And yeah, Lynn is doing great. She's feeling wonderful. She did last weekend. She'll be back in the hot seat this weekend. Lynn Wallington, Saturday and Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then right after that, it's the fedora-wearing John Hudson. It's the gorgeous Gemma Jade. It's the big Willie Townsend for After Hours, taking you deep into the night. We got y'all covered here 7 days a week here on Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel. And hello, Truth Seeker Jen. Welcome to our channel. Yes, we actually do believe this stuff. So welcome. Sit back. Enjoy the woo. That's what we do here. All right. So, yeah. It's all in good times. Swag. Or swag. Swag. Whatever way you want to pronounce it. Gorgeous Jeanette Sanchez, what's up? Ufologist, good to see you. Oh, hey, Clam. What's happening? Let's see here. We have just over a minute, my friend. Guillermo, you'd have to contact MUFON. Hi, Looney. What's happening? All right. I want to say a big thank you to Apollo, Linda, Jeremy, Michael, and Kira for the amazing super chats. Hi, Susan A. Hearn in Provincetown. We love you. I can't wait to come back to see you. Really can't. Doc from Wyoming, welcome back. Remember, the super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. We're here 7 days a week. And, of course, thank you to all the veterans who are tuned on in. You always have a safe place in our chat rooms. So thank you very much for your awesome and dedicated service. Here we go, everyone. Second half hour next. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire, checking out all our swag. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Author, experiencer Paul Hamden is here with us tonight, all the way from Australia, talking about his relationship with beings from Zeta Reticuli. You can find all of his books on Amazon. I highly suggest these are good ones in order to make contact with extraterrestrials. And right before the break, Paul, as we bring you back in, UFO landings. I'll tell you, there is nothing that shakes you or breaks you as much outside of seeing aliens themselves than watching a UFO on the ground. Tell me about your experience.
I will, but just wanted to make sure that you understand the books actually aren't on Amazon, so that's the first thing. If they're on there, they're not supposed to be there. that's the thing. We give away a lot of books, so a primer of the Zeta race is free. The Zeta Interviews is free, and people shouldn't be buying them. If these books are quite thick. One of them's like 550 pages. They're all free. They're free. They're available on the-zeta-connection.com. And there are some books there that are for sale, but we give away most of the things that we do for free. That's the first thing. Okay.
Well, there we go. I apologize for that. Then.
No, that's all good. Though. I just don't want people to buy stuff when they don't have to. You know what I mean?
No, I think that's wonderful that you're doing it for free.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful.
All right.
All right, UFO landing. Tell me about yours.
Well, okay, so where do I start? So there's a bit of training that's involved in working out how to vector a craft in. I believe that a lot of people call it C5, but it depends where you get the training from and what you do with it. So I was taught how to vector craft in a little bit differently, I guess, but by the Zetas. But we spent 2 weeks showing them where they were going to land. And I'd organised with the other people to come to that night to the property. So when the time arrived that day, everybody arrived, and the property was about 25 acres. And around each of those properties were about 25 acres as well. And so most of the properties also have animals on them, cows, horses, dogs, those sorts of things. And I knew that there was going to be an issue with animals, because animals and extraterrestrials generally don't mix too well initially. Example, I had a cat, and every time the extraterrestrials came, he'd try and sit on the wall. So he'd be jumping up onto the wall. He thought it was the floor. So he lost his ability to understand his three-dimensional space. But anyway, so everyone's sitting in a circle. It's getting dark, but it's a very, very clear night. And all of the animals start to howl. So on all the properties, all the dogs start to howl. Now, this phenomenon is something that myself and others that are with me always see. If I'm here and they're coming, the animals around my house will start to all howl as well. You know? Then what happened, which was pretty interesting, I think this is one of the more interesting aspects of it. I looked to my right and I saw this like a cloud coming, but it was very low, but it was rolling as it was going along. And as it was rolling along, about, I don't know, two meters above us, it rolled across the top of us and continued to roll. So now there's a complete blanket of like steam or cloud or something above everybody. And we still hadn't heard anything happening at all, except for the dogs, howling. And so that was after a couple of minutes. So now the steam's more calm now. And it was pretty interesting when that happened. I was fully cognizant, as were other people at that point. People were watching this take place. Everybody was pretty quiet. There was a sense of expectation, I guess. We weren't really sure. We were hoping the craft would come. The craft, then I could see through about 50 meters away, this craft starting to land, coming down, and it had some specific lights on it. I don't generally mention them what they look like, because then that takes away people's other experience if they see it for themselves. And the craft landed, and by that time I was looking around at everybody. We had a big fire in the middle as well, and you could see that a lot of people started to slump forward as the energy changed around the circle, and the ground was this really thick sand. If you walked on it, it was really crunchy. Anybody that tried to walk on it, even a dog, it would crunch. That's just the way the soil was. And all of a sudden, through the steam, which had now gone right down to the ground, you could see all these shadow figures coming from the craft, and they came from my left-hand side, and they started to walk around. They went right around, and they were standing behind people. There would have been, I don't know, I didn't count them, but there would have had to have been at least 10 Zetas that were more than 5.5 feet high. And they were stopping and putting their 3 fingers, not 4, but people think they're 3 fingers, on everybody's shoulders and stopping directly behind each of the people. They only stayed for a very, very short time, and I believe that it seemed like a long time, but this is a bit to do with time compression, and that it must have only been, I don't know, 30 seconds, but it might have been longer than that. They all just walked back to the craft. The craft just disappeared. It didn't even bother to take off, it just disappeared. And then the steam, it rolled backwards and disappeared, and then all the animals stopped howling. You there, Dave?
Yeah, yep. I'm listening away to you, man.
Yeah, okay.
I want to ask you, with that landing, being about 50 meters away, did it make any sound? Did it make any type of wind that was blowing in your face?
Nope.
Because I think a lot of people would try to assume it's much like a helicopter, which it's not at all.
No. They've got technologies that they don't even worry about gravity. I mean, this is the whole thing. Like the other morning, right? So I got woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, here we go again. Quite often I just find myself, I'll get up and I'll go and stand in the kitchen because I think it's raining, and it's not raining. I can hear rain. Rain to me seems to be a precursor to them coming. They like to wake me up with a bit of rain, It's just that with the whole incident at that morning, they were talking about compression, and they were talking about they move at about 10 times faster than what we do. And so when the first thing they do is the craft comes, you see it go from here to here, but you don't see it move if they moves really fast. All you know is that you see it and then it's gone. Right? That's because they're using what's called a compression method. Now, I don't understand the technology behind this at all, but it makes a lot of sense to understand that when they're using this compression method, they can be in one place and then not be there at all. But you've been sitting there, or if you're with other people and they're not part of the experience, they can actually look like they're frozen in time because you're now part of their compression process. There's a lot to this, and I understand that. But generally, when the craft come, there's no wind for us. They just appear and disappear, and that's to do with compression.
Did any beings come out during this landing?
Which landing, Dave? The one I just described?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. There would have been about 10 of them out walking around behind everybody. As I said, I didn't count them.
Wow.
Yeah.
With my landing, I was actually called outside. I was sitting in my friend's house.
Yeah.
And it was about 10 o'clock at night when I all of a sudden got called outside. I remember getting like high anxiety, like I had to go outside at that moment.
Yeah.
And when we went their back field, you could feel it, but it wasn't noticeable until we asked to turn the lights on. You know, show it. Actually, we said, before we said turn the lights on, I said, out of God's peace, love, and light, you called us outside. Can you please show us where you are? And that's when it flicked the switch. And the lights were on. It was probably about 150 yards away from us.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was the brightest white light I've ever seen, yet I could look at it without squinting.
Yeah.
You know, after 30 seconds, it turned its lights back off. And then when I asked again a second time, I said, if you're of alien descent of God's peace, love, and light, can you turn your lights back on? And boom, the lights came back on. But the white light was brighter and wider through the trees. And there was this blue cylinder standing vertically, probably 20 to 30 feet, with this black cloud that was rotating counterclockwise from the bottom, and then it would make its way about halfway up, and then it would make its way back down. And then after about 30 seconds, the lights went off again. And I said, just so I know I'm not crazy, and I'm not even yelling this, I'm talking the same volume as you and I are right now.
Yeah.
I said, just so I know I'm not crazy,
Do it again.
can you please turn your lights on one final time?
Yeah.
And the lights came on again. But when they went out for good, never saw it again. My friend wanted...
Your friend was with you, yeah?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you see any beings?
No. That came 5 days later.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's really good.
But the interesting part about that was I was scared. I can admit I was scared over that, Paul.
Yeah.
And my friend wanted to walk up to it. And I said no. And when she asked why, I said, because I'm not going back into your house as suspect number one.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So,
true story.
Yeah, and so I'm not sure if the people that are listening understand or have, maybe they do, I don't know. But so your physical body has an etheric body, and your etheric body is a mirror image of your physical body, yeah? And you sense everything through the energetic body, yeah? And the energetic body, as it senses things, comes down and it engages with your psychological processes and your emotional processes. Quite often, the etheric body is the first thing to realize that there's something going on around you, like your intuitive processes. So when the extraterrestrials come, of course, the first thing that they're going to affect is your etheric body. The physical body has no way to understand extraterrestrial contact, and because of that, you may sense fear. And that fear then alerts you to your fight or flight mechanism. And then, of course, you start making decisions based around that. But if you can train yourself to bypass those mechanisms, those processes, that etheric body change can actually be a litmus test for you to work out how to evidence their contact. And so what will happen is they can then come into your space, even though you can be fearful, your physical body can be fearful, but you are able to recognize it because you've named it, and you've named it as being extraterrestrial contact. The physical body will then stop having any fear whatsoever, and then will allow you to interact with them either mind to mind or whatever way that they choose to speak to you.
Okay. So
Okay.
with that, you know, you if somebody were to walk up to a craft like that,
Yeah.
what would happen? The only example we have of really anything like that ever happening is back in 1967 with Stefan Michalek in Falcon Lake, Manitoba, Canada, where the craft that took off in front of him burnt his clothing and left him with these weird dots on his chest.
I've seen that.
What would happen? What would have happened if you would have walked up to the craft or I would have walked up to the craft that I saw?
You'd have been burnt. You would have been burnt. Yeah. And so this is the thing: is we have to understand why we're going to be burnt. So the difference is the vibration. So that the craft is vibrating at a specific frequency. Yeah. We're vibrating at another frequency. Now it's like you stand in front of a heater, or you go outside. Okay, so you can't see the UV coming from the sun, but if you stand out there long enough, you're going to get burnt because your cellular body, your cellular structure, reacts to the UV. Now, because the craft vibration is 10 times higher than a human physical vibration, as you go to step towards this thing, you're going to be stepping into its field, and then your cellular body will react by being burnt. Also, your physical clothing will also be damaged or could be damaged as well. So this is what they do when they take people. Okay, so I'm giving you information I'm not sure you've heard before. When they take people, what they do is they change the frequency of the person in the room, in their room. And generally, if there's two people in bed, they'll change this person's frequency. The other person will be blacked out. This person's then shifted up into frequency. They're unconscious, and then they're moved on craft. Because they're moved in frequency while they're unconscious or asleep, their cellular structure doesn't respond because their cellular structure has changed in frequency. They move onto craft. They don't get burnt on craft. They put back in bed. They then have their cellular structure or their frequency drop back down to normal. The issue is that you may feel like you've been hit by a bus the next day, but that's the process that they use.
And that happened before.
Yeah.
You know, we got about 6.5 minutes before we got to go to break. At the top of the hour, Paul Hamden is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio's website, the-zeta-connection.com. If you want to check that out, we'd appreciate that. Paul, a number of people would love to make contact, maybe some for the first time, maybe some again who have, for one reason or another, stopped having contact. How is there a difference between new people having contact and people who have had the contact stop but want to restart it again?
Yeah. So I would suggest that a couple of things take place. And to be honest, Dave, this is a fairly complicated area. So I want to mention that the people in the past, 70 years ago, would have had implants. And those implants would have been specifically used to identify from a positional point where a hybrid was on the planet. That's the first thing. If that person's had that implant removed, that's going to be an issue. Yeah. I would suggest a couple of things. So for the person that wants to make contact, that they should really spend every day a portion of some time every day, not every day, meditating and setting the intention for contact. Making sure that there's no fear associated with that, because they don't want to bring in entities that are going to cause them any issues. That person should also evidence their contact by asking if they get mind-to-mind contact. Okay, you're talking to me. What is it that you're going to be doing for me? When are you going to do that? And that way you're going to be able to work out the difference between when your mind is telling you things and when they're telling you things. Because if it doesn't come to pass, it was your mind. And if it does come to pass, i.e., this was going to happen on this specific day to you in your life, yes, it's possible to read your own etheric field, but if they're telling you this, then they're trying to provide some level of evidence to you. For a person that's previously been contacted, if you want to craft to come back, the Zetas have told us that it's all about behaviour, and not bad behaviour or good behaviour, these sorts of things. But behaviour as in humans are very, very busy. Their minds are busy. Their lives are busy. They sort of, oh, I'm going to meditate now, 10 minutes, bang, go on, those sorts of things. You've got to make a lifestyle change. You've got to work out how you used to have contact and what's changed for you now not to have contact. And once you work out the difference, you move yourself back into that space where you had that contact previously. And that's through meditation exercises, stillness. And there are other processes as well. To be honest, I actually teach all this online for free as well, in Zoom chats and stuff, in groups. And so there are ways to teach people how to contact as well.
I totally want to take that group. I'm one of the ones who've lost contact.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And it bugs me.
Yeah.
It bugs me bad. And I
Yeah.
know it's because my schedule has taken off. I don't meditate enough. I don't spend enough time staring up at the stars. You know, I used to be able to summon UFOs. Can't anymore. Haven't been able to do it for about, well, since I was cursed in 2015.
Maybe that's something we could talk about another time between you and me,
Yeah.
I mean. Yeah.
Oh, I'm an open book for my audience if you want to.
Oh, okay. Well, if you want to talk about that, that's fine. I'm quite happy to talk about it.
We got 2.5 minutes. How about that?
Yeah, go for it. I mean,
What the hell do I got to do here to get some aliens, man?
Well, the thing is, you're saying you were cursed. I mean, then if you believe that, then obviously you have allowed the intention of that thought process to assimilate into your etheric body and consciousness. They can't get to you anymore.
The curse was lifted.
Was it?
Yes, and I have been taken since then. I just don't have any. I just don't have any conscious sightings. I haven't seen a UFO in years. I don't have any.
That's what you think, Dave. Dave,
Well,
that's what you think. But the problem is that we need to talk in the next hour about screen technology and how screen technology is used to embed, and the reason it's used to embed and to give memories, blank memories, false memories, and the reason that they're given.
I'm so lost, but so intrigued right now. Okay, so it's a mental block.
It can.
Or
it's not just a mental block. It's not. No. It's. Think about it. If someone comes into your space and you go, "Gee, I don't know how that makes me feel," it has to do with your etheric body, filtering down to the physical. And so, when we talk about memories, when we talk about connection and contact and those sorts of things, we need to start to do specific functions like a sphere technique. And the sphere technique is used to be able to clear all of your energies. And if you can understand what your energies are, and generally breath work is the way that we work with our own energies. Once we understand that breath work holds harmonics, and those harmonics then provide us with contact, we get contact.
That is points to ponder as we prepare to go to break here at the bottom, or make that the top of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio. Paul Hamden, ET Contactee with the Zetas. We're going to figure this out. How do we make contact? What do we got to do? And what more can we do? Oh, my God. My mind is blown right now. Absolutely blown. Paul Hamden's website. Let's get it for you. The-Zeta-Connection.com. You can check out his shop, his blogs, testimonials, have an experience for yourself. Check it on out. We will return with more alien talk here on Spaced Out Radio when we return for hour number 2. All right, we're clear, man.
Okay, great.
Trying to put it all together.
And I mean, are we able to talk while we're off? I know we're on YouTube. But
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, great. So I actually run workshops where I teach people how to contact spirit. Okay.
Right.
But how to also contact guides, extraterrestrials, those things. It always comes down to the breathing. If you can learn about your breath work, and a lot of yogis, people that do yoga, that talk about pranayama, all that. If you can work out your breath then contains energy, and it also contains harmonics. Now, if you can breathe in a way that causes your etheric body to expand, like so from here out, as your etheric body expands, if you set the intention for contact and you understand the difference between your energy and another being's energy, when they come, you will sense the difference. You see?
Yes.
That's the big problem. People are so blocked up that they can't, even when they, the spirits come, say a spirit easy to talk about. A spirit person comes that loves you, a parent or a grandparent or whatever. I've got a spirit above me. And so when they come, you can't sense them. People go, I can't sense spirit. But actually, they're really trying hard for you to sense them. But it's more about breathing correctly, building the energies, expanding your etheric body, understanding the difference between your energy and theirs, and then when they come, you actually can sense them. And that's how mediums work.
Is that a doorway behind you on your right?
This is a corner.
Ah. Something in the corner, too.
Yeah, I know. I've always been able to see spirits like I can see you, so it's been easy for me.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Bim Jim, how are you? Good to see you. Who else has joined us here? Let's see here. Hi, gorgeous Nikki. Yeah, that's a great guess. Evan Walters, do aliens fart? Probably. Why not? Everything's got a release from there.
Interesting question.
These are the questions that don't make it to air.
Oh, right. I was going to answer that one, believe it or not. It's the same as the human body. The human body breathes most of its waste out as well.
Thanks, Clam, for the password. Reminder this weekend, Lynn Wallington, Saturday and Sunday for Space Out Weekend, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Then right after, Big Willie, Gemma Jade, and John Hudson take on the after-hours show. So we got you jam-packed on the weekends. 5 hours of broadcast entertainment starting at 6 p.m. Pacific. I'm still here Monday through Friday. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing changes. But I'm still having fun. All right. Thank you to Apollo, Linda, Jeremy, Michael, and Kira for the amazing super chats tonight. Super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much for the love. And all the veterans out there tuning us in, we really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget Vegas, April 22nd to 24th. Who's coming? Who is coming? Your name has to be registered at info@spacedoutradio.com. So that way you can get a swag bag from me. That simple. We're going to do a live show in Vegas at the Golden Nugget. I'm booking the room this weekend. And we go from there. Mennonite Abe is going. Yep. Mennonite Abe will be there. Bringing his Mennonite Bible and everything. Jim Lucier, welcome. Mike Roberts, good to see you. Thank you, the lovely Dirt Road, for that amazing super chat. Really appreciate you. Larry, I have tinnitus as well, and I can meditate. I mainly meditate in the shower. That way, excuse me, that way I don't hear the tinnitus as much. Gorgeous Teresa will be in Vegas. Congratulations to England and the United Kingdom for lifting all mandates. Let's get that shit happening here in North America and Australia, please. Yep. Return back to normal. Razzlehoff, how are you, man? Good to see you. Thank you to all the veterans who are tuning us in. You always have a safe place in our chat room. Thank you so much for your dedicated service. All right, guys, let's do this thing, hour number 2, with the big bad Paul Hamden next. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you all with us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Bahadur. Bahadur is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as a clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. From the-Zeta-Connection.com, we bring in Paul Hamden. What's it like to have contact with extraterrestrials? Paul, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. I know there's going to be some audience questions coming for you from the chat room, but I want to ask you this in regards to the Zetas and everything that is going on in your world. What is the message that the Zetas have for us here on this planet?
Okay, so the thing is everybody wants disclosure. Yeah. Have you heard about the UAP disclosure process, I guess?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Zetas and other races are saying they want disclosure as well, but they can't disclose at this point, not the way disclosure won't be the way that humans want it to be. And there's a reason for that. And we've talked about this previously, but it's to do with vibration. So you can imagine, a craft lands and everybody's there. It's all great. And next thing you know, humans start walking towards the craft to get burnt, blackout, and a whole lot of other stuff takes place. And next thing you know, it's not going as well as they thought it would. And the other thing is obviously that if the Palladians landed, I guess people would be like, "Oh, g'day, this is awesome." But if the Greys landed or the Zetas, it'd be like, "We don't want you guys. You don't even." Whatever. But so I guess it depends on people's perceptions about what an extraterrestrial is. And from a serious note, there are people that obviously, they've been abducted. They are being abducted. They haven't resolved their abductions. They're not able to speak to the beings that are taking them. They don't even want to be taken. And so the last thing they want is for extraterrestrials to be landing all around them. But the benefit of some level of disclosure is going to be that those people that are being abducted and telling people or not telling people about it, is their information is going to be validated. The minute a craft actually shows itself in a way, globally, And I know that there's Tic Tac videos and all the rest of it, and people are saying they don't know where it's from and all this sorts of stuff. This is going towards a level of disclosure that's like a train. It's just going fast. And the thing is that the extraterrestrials are saying, well, how do we manage this? Because there's a lot of people that have had contact. A lot of people haven't resolved their contact. A lot of people are saying they want contact, but the truth is, if they actually had it, what happens to all their belief systems in regards to contact? People have a lot of religious beliefs. What if they found out certain truths about the planet that they didn't know before? There's a lot of psychological issues to deal with before things truly take place. Now, you had a craft landing, and I think you were saying something about if you come in love and if you come in light, I believe, or something, show yourself. Is that what you said before?
Yeah, peace, love, and light.
Right. You said peace, love, and light. But what if, why did you say that?
It was the only thing that sounded right because I'm a God guy and I'm God-fearing and I wanted that protection.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So you're standing there as a craft and you're asking for protection, right? And then the craft shows itself to you.
Yes.
But there's a such thing as free will on the planet, and the beings aren't going to come unless the whole planet all at once says, you know what, we want this. Now, 99% of the people on the planet don't want this, and they want to stay in their very comfortable environment, and I don't blame them. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got some questions here from our audience. We'll kick them off right now. Anne in Portland is wondering, what is the purpose of the frequency change? To keep the body safe?
I would ask, and is that question specifically related to when the person is taken on craft? And if it is, then that's exactly what it's about. But the other thing we need to think about is our minds. We'll call our minds our local construct, because our local construct gives us the ability to be able to filter all of the things that we perceive and understand. Now, your mind operates at a certain vibration, and if it's not protected by a screen memory, then what will happen is that there's capacity or potential for a person, once they're on a craft or moving towards a craft of different frequency, that their local construct will collapse. And so quite often the mind has to be protected in consciousness before they're able to move on board a craft. And it also keeps the body safe, yes.
Follow-up from Anne. Can changing our frequencies aid in healing? Is healing something they would do?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So people know about the chakra system, and the chakra system's obviously, multiple systems, but the Zetas say that it's not just about the chakras, it's about the etheric body. And if you think about when you watch deep water running in a river, it runs like it's still, but you'll see eddies in the water as it's running, slowly. The etheric body is exactly the same. And so the etheric body, if there's unwellness in any part of the etheric body, there'll be a distortion of that vibration or that frequency. And so if you're able to actually increase through your breath work and through meditation your etheric body and your own vibration, then of course you're going to bring to yourself healing. And yes, they do heal.
Alex is wondering, what is the average frequency value of a human body?
I would suggest that you'd need to look up the Schumann frequency. I'm not like 7 point something. And this is the whole point, is that the Schumann frequency dictates what we can remember. And so I'll give you an example. If you're from spirit realm, so you come from spirit realm, you know everything about yourself in spirit realm. Then you come through, you incarnate, you're born, and you then can't remember anything. And that's because of the Schumann frequency, we've been told. Okay. Now, even the spirit people that come through have talked about the Schumann frequency. The Zetas then told us that when they put in screen memory technology into contactees, that they are using the same Schumann frequency to put in or implant those memories, or even those blank memories where you can't remember a specific event that took place. And that's because they don't want those high frequency memories that you've got to come forward, because you haven't been able to resolve them correctly at this point. You've had no time to resolve your contact, and a lot of people have too much fear in regards to contact.
All right, let's move on here with our audience. Jim is asking, what are your thoughts on the Greys eating people? Holy cow.
I think that's a really good question. So I know about reptilians. I've met some. I know about other races, and the Greys don't eat anybody. That's one thing. For a start, they generally, I'm not sure if you know about this, but they only use a clear liquid, and that liquid is either taken by mouth or rubbed onto the skin to provide nutrients. That's what's providing the smell when people have contact with the Zetas and the Greys as well. So some people go, wow, there's a really strong pungent smell. That's to do with the type of supplements that they take, and absolutely not. There are no Greys eating people. I would suggest that if a person has had that experience, that another entity that they were working with may have implanted that memory for them, so that that's what they would believe.
Okay, so we don't have to be worried about the Greys taking a fork and knife to us.
No, Dave, not at all. I've been on craft for over 60 years, and I've never seen a knife or a fork.
Okay, maybe they're caveman-like and just pick us up like hot wings.
Yeah, wow. No, it never happened. And I've seen plenty of people on craft as well. As I said before, an hour ago, I met another person on craft when I was 8. We were able to view all of the people on the craft as well. And being on craft is a whole conversation, isn't it? I mean, when you're on a craft, what do you see? What technology do you experience? What other life forms are on craft? Like, here's some things. What about people see human containers on craft? How are they created? Why are they created? Are they humans? No, they're not. They're not humans at all. What about how do the Zetas incarnate? How do they move from one form to another? They don't have a spirit realm. So when they leave their container, they can, through maturation, just move straight into the next container. They've created one via their DNA. There's a lot of interesting things to know about their technology.
All right, let's move on. Grantavius is wondering, does the whole planet have to be at a certain vibration or frequency before the Zetas make themselves known to all?
I would suggest that there's been a pretty big shift in the last 6 months there in the astral. So most people, when they go to sleep at night, they move out of their body a little bit and they sit in the astral while they're sleeping. And the Zetas have said to us that the astral's expanding. And as the astral is a replicate of all thoughts of humanity, as that astral realm becomes larger and larger with more and more thoughts, more and more intention for contact, what will happen is at some point there'll be a tipping point, and that tipping point will allow them to then abide by the planet's free will, and the free will allow them to actually show themselves to people because of the fear factor, the lack of fear.
Apollo is wondering.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Continue, please.
Oh, okay. No, I can see the question. That's fine.
Okay, Apollo is asking, what is the relationship between the spirit world and the Zetas.
Okay. So Spirit Realm is a lovely place, and it actually exists. And I'm guessing a lot of people that are going to watch this video will know of a loved one that's come to visit them from Spirit Realm. A lot of mediums and other people are able to see spirits as well. Spirit Realm and the extraterrestrials don't ever meet. Extraterrestrials are not allowed to go into Spirit Realm because of their frequency differences, and also because you have free will here, and your free will means that you are able to determine what you will and won't accept. When you're in the spirit realm, because you're in the spirit realm, you cannot be influenced at all. And in saying that, extraterrestrials will not, under any circumstances, no matter what the race, will not enter into spirit realm. So there is no real relationship between spirit realm and Zetas or extraterrestrials.
Eugene would like to know, what have the beings told you about life after death?
The beings didn't have to tell me anything about life after death, because I'll give you an example. I've been a medium my whole life, since I can remember. And I've had people come to me, talk to me as spirits, and then I found out that an hour later that their body's been found. And so they'd been talking to me for an hour, and then their body had been found, that they'd been dead an hour ago. So those spirits are able to talk for themselves. They don't need the Zetas to or any ET to tell us about spirit realm. Spirits talk for themselves quite clearly. This is to do with things like communications through trance mediumship, physical mediumship, which involves ectoplasm with some mediums, and especially the mediums in the past. And in the past also there were mediums like John Campbell Sloan and other physical mediums that had independent direct voice. And that means that the spirits could speak into the air by themselves using an ectoplasmic voice box that was created from a medium's life force. And all those discussions are documented in books that are freely available on the internet by those mediums from back then.
Let's continue on here. Grant Tavius is wondering, what species of aliens are among us today on Earth?
Well, there's a lot of conjecture about that, but I would suggest that there are, hybrid Zetas, hybrid Palladians, hybrid Sirius A. Sirius B is an aquatic planet. There's Arcturians. There's a wide range of beings that are incarnated as hybrids today on the planet, and those people generally have an inkling of who they are anyway, and that's really important. There's multiple ways, names, star seeds, indigo, and all the rest of it. But there's always been incarnation by these races on the planet. But about 70 years ago, it started in earnest because of what the extraterrestrials saw was the future of mankind.
Brazelhoff is wondering, ever seen a gray with sharp teeth? Preston Dennett, the author, has featured a few accounts of grays with teeth.
Interestingly, that's actually not the greys, but they look like them. They're a race called the collectors, and those collectors live in the astral. So yes, but not greys.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on here, 5900 would like to know, which race are behind the missing people? That go missing and vanish.
I don't know. I don't know, and I don't know who the 411 missing people are.
He misspelled it. David Polite is a researcher up here. He's a member of MUFON, and he's a Sasquatch researcher. He's a former police officer. Has a very successful series called Missing 411, and that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, no, I don't have any information about that. We've only got information from we've only got information from the Zetas, and this is a very large planet. There's a lot of things going on. What do the Zetas look like? They look like greys. The Zetas, though, as I've said to before with about the species, there's a grey species, right? And there's 63 races. Now, those races generally all look the same. I would suggest that some people even think that they're all clones. But if you understand how they procreate, is a word that they actually don't, and how they create their containers and how they move from one container to the next, you'll then understand why people think that they look like genetic clones. Yeah. So I want to explain that. So you can imagine humans, mum and dad have a baby, all that sort of stuff, swap DNA, genetics, and there's a child. There's some of their consciousness comes from spirit realm into the child. The child's born, all the rest of it. The Zetas don't even have that process. The Zetas don't even have a spirit realm. So imagine that you are an extraterrestrial and you're living for, I don't know, a couple of hundred years, and you've decided that the body's wearing out a bit. Your technology is so advanced, all you need to do is take some of your own DNA, maturate that DNA into a healthy body. And then because of the fact that you don't use a spirit realm, you're able to just move your consciousness as a human would in astral travel, and go and populate the consciousness, to populate with consciousness that body. Now, people on craft have seen many of these bodies, these containers, and they think that they're activated by AI. Well, they're not actually activated by AI, they're activated by the being. So I'll give you an example. You're a long way away out in the middle of nowhere, solar system, and you want to travel to Earth. So what you do is you populate the craft with 10 containers, 10 bodies. Now, if you just travel under normal circumstances through a non-compressed state, you're not dematerialized and you're not going through any portals because all these sorts of things damage the cellular structure of the container, then what happens is they do the proper process of flight and they arrive. Now, of course, it's been a drone. The craft is a drone, but it's got consciousness, so it knows actually where it's going. Once it's arrived, it sends a signal back to the planet. The beings there then just, via progression of consciousness, populate the physical containers of the body, and the body's animated. The craft then does its scientific investigations, or if the craft lands, the beings come out, walk around, do what they need to do. Once they've finished, the containers that are being used by the consciousness are then put back into stasis, and then the consciousness of the beings goes back to their own original bodies in stasis, which is quite a quick process. They come out of stasis on planet, and then the craft moves back to its original destination. It could take months. And that's why quite often when people are taken aboard a craft, they could see all these containers around the walls or in stasis or whatever.
In the containers, are the humans alive?
Sorry. Are you saying, are there human containers? So
Yes.
Are there humans on craft? Yeah. So the humans that are on craft are there, but they're not in containers. Yeah. If there is a human form in a container, then what they've done is they've taken the DNA and they've replicated the human form, and then they can populate it with their own. So we're thinking about two different containers. One are the grey-looking beings, the short ones, the medium, the tall, whatever, and the others are the human-looking containers that are just a biological entity. Yeah, but they're not humans.
All right. I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we have Paul Hamden for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio, talking Zeta Greys. We got a bunch of great questions from our audience coming on in, and we appreciate that. And then we got a jam-packed hour number 3 where we have Swamp Dweller. We have World Bigfoot Radio, Super Duke joining us. We got the Dave 101 in the back end, Shirky Poo with the news, and maybe we'll squeeze in some thought of the day. Spaced Out Radio continues with Paul Hamden right after this. We're clear.
Leg stretch time.
Yeah, you go right ahead.
Yeah.
I'm just marking our next question here. So
Yeah,
all
it's a
good.
good question. Yeah, it's a good question. I'm just going to mute for a second.
Yeah, you go right ahead. All right, Lester Taylor, good to see you, my friend. Neil the security. All right. And Pine Island Research, welcome back. Solaire, what's happening, man? Let's see here. Oh, excuse me. Aussie Tiger, how are you? Morning, Chris Mo in Austria. TMI, good evening to you. And we're caught up there. Oh, there's little Stevie Franchise hanging on out. Michael Elwell, welcome to the show. I hope you guys are enjoying Paul as much as I am. I know, Ian. I know. It's flying on by. $4.16 Bitcoin, how are you? I'm an adult man too, FFS. Oh, you're funny. All right. Just so you guys know, UFOCon 2022, I will be speaking in San Francisco. I think Lynn Wallington will be speaking there as well. It's the final weekend of March now. The event got delayed 1 month, and Lori and Fenton apologizes for that. They were having some troubles at the hotel getting the full booking, but everything will be good by then. I will be speaking, so will Lynn. So make sure you join us there the month before Vegas. It'll be a lot of fun. Or if you can't make Vegas, join us in San Francisco. It'll be good. What temperature is it there right now?
In Australia,
Yeah, where you are.
it's always 33
Lovely.
and 28 at night.
Let's see. Right now, I'm sitting at 2 degrees Celsius, 35 Fahrenheit, waiting for the snow to start falling again. And then snow all day tomorrow. And let's see here.
Hey, Dave, one thing, can I clarify something that, about the races? Or do you want to wait to be back on the air to do that? Or
Oh, you can do it right now.
okay, so with the grey species, there's 63 races. Okay, now 62 of them exist in the collective consciousness, and they have a lot of hybrids on planet. That's the first thing. They give them screen memories to protect them from the frequency shifts and obviously the fact that a lot of people fear contact. They don't realise why they're being contacted. One of the specific races of the Greys, and I call them the abductors, they don't abide by the underlying law of free will, and because of that, those beings are actually doing some things that are just not on. They're in service to self. They're doing genetic experiments and manipulation that they shouldn't be doing. And the Zetas themselves are actually trying to modify that situation to stop that from happening. It's a bit difficult because when you're talking about as many beings as exists in that species, it's quite difficult. It would be the same as if coming to this planet and trying to get a whole country, a race, because it's a human species, to stop a specific behaviour, stop a war. Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify that because there are people that are being taken, probably, by abductors and having experiences that they don't want. And then there are a lot of other people that actually generally are able to move their what they consider to be abduction through to a contact experience. And then, like someone like yourself, you want to have more contact, and it could be that you're a hybrid yourself, and in doing so, your race is coming to contact you. Now, I've had an orb.
I got to get you to stop right. I got to get you to stop right there because we're just about to go here.
Okay.
We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott, sitting here at SOR HQ. Good to see you all. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire, checking out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Paul Hamden, his website, the-Zeta-Connections.com. If you want to check it on out, learn about ET contact, connection with the Zeta Reticulans, and more. And we're continuing with some audience questions here, too, at the top of the hour. Anne is asking, Paul, if we think we know we have a false implanted memory, how can we get to the true memory?
That's a really difficult question, because you have to ask yourself a few other questions previous to that. Why do you actually have a false implanted memory? What purpose does it serve? What part of the consciousness that you hold is it supporting? If the implanted memory didn't have a reason, then it wouldn't be there for a start. Now, a lot of people go, oh, they're just using screen memories so that we don't remember what they're doing because their behavior's not correct. That could be true in some cases, but what if it's to do with the fact that your mind needs to have that screen memory in place? If you remove that screen memory in any way, you may actually have a problem psychologically if you remove it. When people go and get hypnotherapy and have screen memories, or they have memories, you have to ask yourself about the validity of that type of technique. And is the subconscious mind actually creating the memories for the person? And of course, then if the subconscious mind believed that it had, or even the conscious mind had a screen memory, would you then create your own removal process and then add in your own story? The consciousness is quite complicated, and I've actually removed a screen memory once of my own. I had to put the screen memory back.
What was that like, removing it?
For me, I mean, I found it easy, but the problem was, it was like you've got a Band-Aid, you ripped it off, and then you've looked underneath and you've gone, oh, that, because I've taken the Band-Aid off it, now it's sore, and sort of, it's more like, well, did I really want to spend the time dealing with this? Because there really wasn't much that went on anyway. It was just a visit to a craft. Or was it something significant? Now, if it was something significant, yeah, I wouldn't have put it back. But quite often, I'd like myself, sometimes when I'm on craft when I was younger, I want to know what's going on as well. Like what happened when I was with that other person when I was 8 years old, what actually happened. They told me what actually took place. And when they did, my screen memory lifted, and I went, oh, wow, I remember that now. I didn't remember it before. We had very firm interaction with a Zeta, a very tall Zeta, which is very interesting. Just another thing I want to talk about is the mantis beings. Now, people often say that they see the mantis beings and there's greys or the Zetas and the reptilians all working together. I've seen that, but it's not what people think. So it's like a council or a committee. The Council of Nine works to manage the planet, and a lot of beings do work with each other, but they're not specifically telling them what to do. The Greys are not from the insectoid race. That's an interesting concept. And to be honest, there's a lot of people who don't even know where they're from. And I guess in the future they will find that out. That'll be very interesting. I see that there's a question there, Dave.
Yes, absolutely. D. Swiger is asking, what do you have to say about the Dracos and Orions?
Are you asking about the reptilian races?
I would assume she is.
Yeah. Okay, so I want you to imagine that you've gone to the computer shop and you've bought yourself a stack of printer paper. Okay, so you've got a stack that's 500 sheets. And in between those 500 sheets is one sheet. And that sheet is a communication process. Any of those 500 sheets could be a communication process. Those races specifically use that specific frequency to change behaviours of some humans. Now, humans' behaviours range from here to here, and if the frequency is here that those beings want to change, they can use that frequency to modify a person based on their behaviours. Once again, though, you don't have to be changed or manipulated by those beings. It's your behaviours that allow them to come.
All right. Larry is wondering, can aliens feed on our energy and vibrations?
When we talk about aliens, we have to understand that if there's, I don't know, 200 billion galaxies, the potential is there's 200 billion races. When we say aliens, it's possible. Let me ask you a question. Do you think it's possible for humans to feed off energy of other humans?
Usually, yes.
Yeah. So there is your answer. If humans can do it,
All right. Nicole is wondering, what do the Zetas look like?
okay. So the ones I've seen, and I've only ever seen two specific races of the species. And remember, there's I've actually seen three, but two that I work with, and the others are the Greys. The Greys specifically, they have a more extended face, sort of like I don't know. You have a look at a normal Zeta face; it's fairly flat, with just the big black eyes. But the Greys are distinguishable by the fact that their face is distended a little bit. The Zetas, some of them are quite small, 2 feet high. Others are 4 feet. Some are 5.5, and some are even 7 feet tall. So the other thing is with the Zetas is that they come in. I don't know. This sounds a bit funny. They come in different colours, and so white, brown, sort of orangey colours, these sorts of things. But that's to do with where they are on their life's journey. So as an entity may change colour as it gets older, so do the Greys as well. So they're not always grey, and it depends on where they ultimately, what age they are, as to what colour they are.
I never knew that. I never knew that age had anything. What's their lifespan?
1,500 years.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
You see, the difference. The thing is, Dave, is with these beings. Imagine you're a Zeta child and you have an injury, and your container is no good anymore. They have technology to hold the consciousness of the child in the collective consciousness of the race. They just maturate a new container at that age, height for that child, and then they just repopulate the container again, because they don't have a spirit realm and they don't have the incarnation process. Also, because they do live to be 1,500 years, if they have an injury or an accident that their technology can't heal, all they do is just go, leave the container, move into the collective consciousness of the race. They then through their own, laboratory process, maturate a body, and then they can come back into the physical form.
Sandra wants to know if hybrids are tracked.
I would suggest that all hybrids are monitored, and not monitored in a way that's intrusive, but you'll notice that a lot of hybrids will have tones, specific tones, can be quite loud as well, and it's not tinnitus, so it can be a very large tone that happens all of a sudden. And I'm just talking about my own experience. When I was younger, the tones were quite loud, and so I was trying to work out some correlation between the tones and visitation. But generally there wasn't. It was more about just triangulation of where a person actually is on the planet at that time.
Nicole would like to know, what's up with the Greys not wearing clothing? And do they have nipples or navels?
Okay, so there's no need for nipples because they don't breastfeed. They use the maturation chamber. You don't specifically need clothes if you've never seen anyone with clothes. It's interesting that humans probably wear clothing. It's the way society's developed, but their societies don't specifically use them. Although, when they first introduce themselves to a human, you may see them with a cloak on. And they'll only ever wear that cloak once.
The Greys I saw,
Yeah.
they were about 4 feet.
Yep.
They had on like a silverish black bodysuit.
Yeah.
What would that be about?
I've seen different beings in different states of dress, different states of contact. My assumption at this point would be that it would depend on where they had been traveling from, what the container had done while it was traveling, remembering that they would not have traveled in full consciousness. So the container, if the container was a physical container and it was on planet, that container, that physical container, would have had to have traveled in a craft to get here, and it didn't have a consciousness in it, so that suit may have served some type of purpose while they were in stasis.
All right. This leads to Tony's question. Paul, I'd like to know, why do the ETs put clothes on backwards and sometimes get clothes mixed up?
Yeah, well, that's what happened to me. I woke up with my shirt on backwards. That's actually good evidence, because I thought that I had been, say, I don't know, lucid dreaming or something. And, I was talking before at the beginning of the show that I had the three of them come and they took me down. They put the clothes on backwards because they don't wear clothes. And if I gave you some jewellery, Tony, and the jewellery was complicated, and I said, here, put it together. If you'd never seen how it looked, you could put it together all wrong. Not all the beings that come to this planet have been here before either. So there's a lot of them, and a lot of them are being trained. So having your clothes on backwards is good evidence.
The only evidence I ever had was 2 scratches on my back.
Yeah.
And I went to take a picture of them, but I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the bathroom first. And then after the bathroom, I went and got changed, went and ate some breakfast, got my day started. For some reason, I'd forgot about it. And then 4 hours later, I remembered about these scratches.
Yeah.
They were about 4 inches long,
Yeah.
about an inch apart. There were 2 of them. I went and took my shirt off, take a picture, and they were gone.
Yeah.
No scarring, no nothing. They were gone.
Yeah.
Messed me up.
I had contact about 2 months ago, and I noticed that I had what are called eraser marks. If you get an eraser and rub it on a surface, it leaves a mark. But they were mirror images of each other, and I took pictures of them. Over a period of, I think it was 7 days, I took a picture every day. And on the 7th day, they both disappeared at the same time. It's very important to always seek evidence of your contact. Okay, so if anything happens to anybody, document it, evidence it, write it down. Because at some point, you'll start to develop a catalogue of information, and that will then become meaningful to you.
All right, let's get to another question here. Neil is wondering, is sleep paralysis spiritual or ET related?
I would suggest that sleep paralysis is based around the fact that the mind wakes up while the body is asleep. Now, sleep paralysis also means that your consciousness is able to think, and because it's actually associated with the subconscious mind dreams and imagery. You're trapped in your physical body, but you're awake. And of course, the fear associated with that you can't move, then starts to generate a whole lot of other astral type activity. Because you're actually, when you're asleep, you're in the astral anyway. A lot of people report that they have encounters or have night terrors when they have paralysis. I'm talking about this because I've experienced this myself when I was younger, and I had to teach myself to move my little finger so that I could physically wake myself up, but there were no extraterrestrials around me when that had taken place.
Okay, let's continue on because we are running out of time and have way more questions. JKGN is wondering, do the Zetas believe in God or fear God?
The thing is they do not fear God, but they know that God exists. They know that source consciousness that created everything exists. And when you talk to them, as with other beings, other races, they also understand that they are the creation of source consciousness. It's good. I think it's great that other races can come and evidence that there is a consciousness that exists. And I think the question is, there's only two realities here, isn't there? If there is no God, then we shouldn't exist. And if there is a God, then that explains why we all exist. Whether your belief system around God is the right belief system is up to you to determine.
All right, let's move on here. So Cheeto is asking, what dimension are the Zetas from?
Our dimension, the third dimension. They exist in the Zeta Reticulum on planet as physical beings. But their technology is such that they look like they're from a different dimension.
Eugene wants to know, how do you get out of your body? Could you explain, please?
Yeah, astral traveling means that you relax your body to a state where your body's on the verge of sleep and your consciousness is on the verge of sleeping. You hold your consciousness on the edge of sleep, and once you've done that and the body falls asleep, you're able to step out of your physical body. Sounds easy, but I don't think it is. But some people naturally are acclimated towards astral traveling and other people aren't. There's plenty of information about astral traveling on the internet.
Mike wants to know, if the Zetas were to be watching the show right now, would they be surprising to hear you speaking of them?
No.
Grantavius would like to know, do these craft go faster than light to get from one destination to another?
No. You see, these craft, there's a difference. So they're able to dematerialize, and because they can dematerialize, it means that they're able to move through specific portals as, I guess, energy. And they can arrive in places much faster than, I guess, any human known technology could at this point in time. That's why you don't have your consciousness in your container when you're traveling. And I did allude to before that when the craft travel, it depends how they travel. If they travel under normal circumstances, just under speed of light, then of course you're not going to generally be populated in your container. The other way, of course, is that you are moving in a dematerialized state, moving through portals, and you're not going to want to be in consciousness then either. So this is why they're able to project consciousness, as you can as well. I mean, humans are telepathic. They just have blockages at that point in time. And I know that some technology's been developed lately where they're talking about giving humans the ability to amplify their telepathic contact. So you're about to see some changes in the next few years.
Jim is wondering, did the Greys come through to our Earth via the nuclear testing era?
Well, you have to ask yourself a question. Why did we even alert them to our existence? And I think if you start to understand that everything produces some type of pollution, whether it's EMF, radio waves, or whatever, once other races were alerted to the fact that these humans existed on this planet, then of course they would have come and actively monitored all the behaviours of humanity.
All right. Jenny would like to know, do you believe a space war is coming?
No, there is no space war. There would never be a space war. We would lose instantly. Humans don't have the capacity to defend themselves against extraterrestrials.
What about ET versus ET?
Oh, look, those sorts of things do happen. Even in the history of the Zetas, there was a war between one of the Zeta races and some Orions, and the planet got destroyed. I mean, that happens. It's the nature of the universe.
Continuing on here, Apollo 11 is wondering, who or what is behind cattle mutilation?
I actually don't know. And we've never asked.
Glenn would like to know, as we got 2 minutes left, Zeta Reticuli has no extrasolar planets. Where do the aliens reside?
Yeah, well, you've got to think about I think it's called the Hologorium. And the Hologorium, the reticulum resides within that. And so it's not just the planets that you're aware of. There are other planets that are unmapped, and a lot of the beings actually live under the surface of the planets as well. They don't live on planet.
Time for one or two more here. Witchy is asking, do you think there will be open public contact to the masses of Earth with any species soon?
No. As explained before, there's no capacity for humans to, like Dave and I were talking about before, when you walk towards a craft or a being, you get burnt, you black out. All these things have to be negotiated first. Humanity needs to shift and it needs to change.
We got 45 seconds. Do me the favor, Paul. Tell everybody where they can find your books and your information.
So the Zeta-connection.com is the website where all of our information is. There's free books there. Download them, have a read, see what you think. If you can buy, if you can think about it, yeah. If you can't think about it, don't think about it. The books we've always given away freely. There are books for sale, but they're different books. Those books are guides on how to contact extraterrestrials. So have a read around the website and see what you think.
Love it. Love it. Paul, so much fun with you. I do want to talk about maybe taking one of your classes to reconnect. I just absolutely adored tonight. So thank you so much for making a very fast show and interview with you tonight.
That's okay, Dave. Anytime, and contact me if you want to have a chat.
Definitely. Paul Hamden, everybody. The Zeta-connection.com is his website. Coming up next, we got Swamp Dweller. We got Super Duke and the Cryptid Report. Yep, jam-packed next half hour on Spaced Out Radio next. Great job. Great job.
Okay, Dave. Thanks.
You're very welcome. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was, it was interesting. It went quite quickly as well. I think there's a lot of things that we haven't covered. There's a lot of stuff we haven't covered. That's the problem, because there's a lot more to this, especially things around off planets, like DNA banks, all these sorts of things, contact, levels of contact. Yeah, it's all very interesting stuff.
Well, that just means there needs to be a next time.
Okay, there'll be a next time.
Perfect. We'll let you go. Enjoy your afternoon, and I'll get my team to contact you, and we'll go from there.
Okay, Dave. I'm really interested in your experience. I'd like to hear more about it.
We will talk. I promise you. I promise you. All right. Take care, Paul.
See you then.
Bye. Paul Hamden, everybody. What a great show. He's just so matter of fact. Look who it is, everyone. It's Super Duke. There he is. His microphone isn't on, though. Still waiting for Super Duke. Sounding totally not there, man. Hey, Trucker Andrew, how are you? And the gorgeous and talented Nicole Sackage. Thank you for the super chat. Still don't got you, Duke. There. Oh, I'm hearing something.
Check.
There you are.
Check. Okay.
Hello, the fedora-wearing John Hudson. Kufunya, how are you, beautiful? Who else? Tits McGee is here, everyone. Tits McGee is filling in for the vacationing Veronica Corningstone. We're glad to have her tonight. Thank you. And Sovereign Farts, how are you?
Great name.
I know. He came up with it himself. The lovely Vera Ray. Low Pro, how you doing? I'm getting caught up in the chat room. I'm only 1 minute behind now.
Go, Dave.
I think I can make it. I made it. There we go.
Right on.
Uh-huh.
We got a really old story for everybody tonight. Going way back in time, almost 200 years.
Holy cow.
This is the oldest known, well-reported story of potential Bigfoot encounter in North America. So, should be interesting.
Hold on, I got to find out where Sunshine Mountain is. Sunshine Village. That's in Alberta. Where is it? That's in Banff, man.
Banff.
Are you talking Sun Peaks? Mike Bones from Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. There we go. That's like 3 hours north of me.
Banff. That's the sound that X-Man Nightcrawler makes when he teleports. Banff.
Prince George, back in, I think, 1974, had a Phoenix Lights type situation.
Wow. Didn't hear about that one.
Maybe it's the 60s. Late 60s, early 70s. It happened. Nicole Sackage is all about alien nipples right now. Doug, I'm about to go on. No, I'm about to go on air here. I can't take you out right now. Doug Stevenson. Doug. Okay, I'll give you a pet because you're just so handsome. You're going to hear his tail banging off the wall here. Lay down, buddy. Lay down. I want to say thank you to Nicole, Dirt Road, Kira, Michael, Jeremy, Linda, and Apollo for the amazing super chats tonight. Really do appreciate that. Oh, yeah. We got about a minute here.
Right.
Ugh. I worked my ass off today in the studio.
Yeah, I'm just editing the Sunday show while I was waiting to go on air with you. When we get done, I'm back to editing the Sunday show again. Know the feeling. Hope you liked your cameo.
I did. You know what? Editing audio is so much easier than editing video.
Oh my God, yes. Yep.
Do you use Adobe?
Yep. Yep. Adobe works good.
Yeah, I'm not. I've played with it a little bit. I'm by God no expert on it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like any of those other programs. You just got to play with them a lot, and then you get to figure out how everything works. And fortunately, YouTube has tutorials on everything imaginable, so you can always find it there if you can't figure it out.
Very true. All right, we're going to get going here in about 10 seconds. Duke, I'm going to put you back in the green room. We'll bring you back in a few minutes here, okay?
Right on.
All right, Super Duke, everybody. Look at that hair. Look at that hair. Here we go. Love Duke's hair.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. How y'all doing? I'm doing great. My name is Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair at SOR headquarters. Thank you for tuning us in, especially if you're listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Bahadur. Bahadur is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as a clam sets the password every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It's that time of the night once again where we head into the swamp. Our resident spooky storyteller, Swamp Dweller, is back.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. When I was 17 years old, my friend George was attacked by something supernatural right in front of me. My friends and I have been very intrigued by Ouija boards towards the end of high school. We spent several nights over a few months, cramming together and hovering over a planchette. We had a variety of experiences using the Ouija board, most of which you could describe as mildly supernatural or just plain old coincidence. One of the places we would frequent was the garage in George's family home. Like most garages, it was dark, damp, and cluttered. George was intrigued by the Ouija board, as we all were. That is, until it started to target George. Over the course of different sittings, we would ask it all kinds of questions like who it was, what it wanted, how many fingers are behind my back, stuff like that. We still weren't convinced it was legit. We had the spirit tell us who they were, and when prompted for what they wanted, they replied, "Kill George." George was justifiably spooked, but to save face, he persevered. A sitting following that, we had asked the same questions, and the conversation developed. A now different spirit had changed its mind and decided it was the previous spirit and it still wanted to kill George. This paired with several events that George had experienced himself in the night that followed had driven George away from our little seances. We, however, were still more than happy to tinker around, and were not satisfied yet. On the last night we played with the Ouija board, we set up in George's garage as we usually did. He still let us use his garage, and in his presence, he just did not want to participate. That night, it was just George, 2 girls and me. We turned out the lights and set up the board. We even lit a candle or 2 for good effect. George and 1 girl sat across from the other girl and myself. We were all in coats because it was winter and the garage was poorly insulated. The 3 of us, with our hands on the planchette, had barely even begun when George's coat arm caught on fire. I remember watching him fling his arm around as he tried to smother the flame. I immediately jumped up and turned on the lights. It didn't take long for George to put out the flame. We quickly piled out of the garage into his basement, and after a few moments of panic and confusion, we divert our attention towards George. He took his coat off and swore his arm was fine. There wasn't a single mark on his skin. Then we diverted our attention to the newly charred coat arm. The burn was about the radius of a fist, and it burned deeply through the layers, just shy of the inner layer of cloth. The most startling part was, undeniably, the shape of a goat's hoof. We hid the coat for several days. Once we gained the courage, George and I pulled it back out to debunk our little experience. Unfortunately, it was not what we thought it would be. After all, there were open flames in the room, and we had a cigarette in his hand. We applied a cigarette directly to the opposite coat arm, several times. We took a lighter to it in an attempt to simulate the same kind of flame. No matter what we tried, we could not come close to recreating the hoof-like burn. Over time, I thought that maybe George had decided to stage the whole thing to deter us from the Ouija board. He certainly had motive. That was 10 years ago. George and I are still great friends. Occasionally, I get confident that I can get him to fess up and I press him on the subject. It's been 10 years, and he still has the same response, that he loved that coat, and he was just as surprised and terrified as we were. Personally, I don't believe he staged it. I believe that we experienced something authentic, and my perspective on life has never been the same since.
All right, we say thank you to Mr. Swamp Dweller, who will come on in tomorrow night with another spooky story. We love the Swamp Dweller around here, but it is time once again to get a little bit cryptid with Duke Sullivan from World Bigfoot Radio. Let's go. El Ovni Volador is in the captain's chair. And as we bring him on in, we encourage all of our listeners to head over to YouTube's World Bigfoot Radio for one of the top radio show hosts. Super Duke Sullivan, welcome. El Ovni Volador welcomes you back to Spaced Out Radio.
Oh, yeah, happy to be here to tag team with you and lay the smackdown on some of these cryptid skip-tards out there in the audience, brother.
Yes, that is right, my friend. That is right. You have an ancient, antiquated Bigfoot story for us tonight that is going to give us all the neck cracking and hair raising that we need, man. Tell me about it.
Big Sky Howdy from the center of the Rocky Mountains in Montana. This is World Bigfoot Central, and I am Duke. And the story that we're going to be reviewing tonight is the earliest well-documented likely Bigfoot sighting in North America besides Canada. There's an older one from Canada, so I'll have to share that one next time. But this one comes out of the Okefenokee Swamp, and there's some discussion about which state gets to claim it, because apparently it happened right on the border in between Florida and Georgia. And this was way back in 1829. The capital of Georgia was then Milledgeville, roughly in the center of the state, a town named for Revolutionary War hero John Millage, 1757 to 1818. He'd been governor and U.S. senator in Georgia. The town's newspaper, The Statesman, reported the story of an adventure of 9 men in the Okefenokee swamps. Now here I'm going to have to switch to a different source because the book that I originally had this story in is called The Historical Bigfoot, and I do not possess a copy of it any longer. However, if you want to see the little bit longer version here, which isn't as long as the original, but has most of the details in it, you can go to exploresouthernhistory.com, where they have an article called Bigfoot Attack in the Okefenokee Swamp, Georgia, 1829. And after a short lead in, they get right to the guts of it. Winter of 1828-29 was extremely dry, and two men living on the edges of the swamp decided to explore as deep into it as they could. Now, keeping in mind, people hadn't lived around this, any of the settlers hadn't been around this area. They had just at this point started actually getting near it and doing some exploration. So this wasn't like some known area. And the swamp was just a little lower than usual. There's a good time to go explore. So that's what they were up to. They went into the swamp as far as they could. They were accompanied by a boy. And over the course of 2 weeks, they continued to penetrate deeper and deeper into it. As they explored to the very heart of the swamp, they made a startling discovery of gigantic footprints. The length of the foot was 18 and the breadth 9 inches. The monster, from every appearance, must have moved forward in an easy or unhesitating gait or stride from heel to toe, being a trifle over 6 feet. So the men, as the newspaper of the time noted, had seen enough. Ending their expedition and retreating out of the swamp, they related to their friends and their neighbors what they had seen. Now, of course, this story excited the local curiosity of a party of hunters and adventurers who lived just across the Florida line, 9 in number. They went into the swamp to find the mysterious giant. They were guided by one of the members of the original party. Following for some days the direction of their guide, they came at length upon the track he had at first discovered, some vestiges of which were still remaining. Pursuing these traces several days longer, they came to a halt on a little eminence and determined to pitch their camp and refresh themselves for the day. The expedition was described in detail again in the newspaper report published in February 1829. These accounts indicated that as the hunters were discharging their guns to reload them with fresh powder for the night, a wild animal charged their camp. So this is what set it up. They weren't shooting at anything. They were just discharging their rifles because the black powder in these damp conditions will get damp overnight. And then if you have to shoot at something, there's no guarantee it's going to go off. So simple precaution. But when they did this, whatever it was didn't like it and went after them. The next minute, the thing was in full view, advancing upon them with a terrible look and ferocious mien. Our little band instinctively gathered close in a body and presented their rifles. The huge being, nothing daunted, bounded upon his victims and in the same instant received the contents of 7 rifles. The fight, however, did not end there. He did not fall alone, nor until he had glutted his wrath with the death of 5 of them, which he effected by wringing the head from the body. Writhing and exhausted, at length he fell, and with his hapless prey beneath his grasp. As the creature lay dying on the ground, writhing and sometimes roaring, the men who survived the attack gathered around it to make a clear inspection. The creature was found to measure 13 feet from head to toe, and his breadth and volume of just proportions. Immediately fearful that the dying monster's cries might attract others of its kind, they were thinking, the hunters fled the swamp. The men who died in the battle with the creature were left lying where they had fallen. Now, from here, it does not recount the story further on, but having researched this extensively, what happened next is that they went back to town and made a report of this. They did not have a newspaper in this tiny local town, but they did have a town crier who was the local documentarian of anything that was happening in the area. And he absolutely didn't believe the story. In fact, they thought there might have been some kind of a murder that had happened. So he went with this guy who had like balls of titanium, apparently, because he was willing to take him back out there to show him the body of said monster. And this guy, who was, like I said, the local guy who did this sort of thing and kept all the records and everything, he said he saw the thing. It was there. The bodies were still there. He measured it. It was, in fact, 13 feet from head to toe and stank horrible. One detail that was left out of this story is that those 18-inch tracks, the original story with all the information in it, they had 4 toes. So that is not typical of a Sasquatch. It is, however, typical of what we call a mountain giant or a mountain troll, which would also explain the atrocious behavior. But the tearing heads off to kill their opponents is well described and well-known Sasquatch behavior. In fact, we've got lots of examples of wild animals that they've caught, and we found, deer with their necks snapped, cattle with their necks snapped, and that's just how they polish off things. So that matches. So there you go. There's a story. It's almost 200 years old, and this was reported all over the place. That story got as far as a newspaper in Indiana. So it was going all over the place at the time that it came out. It wasn't just a local story.
That almost sounds exactly as to what's happening up in the Nahanni Valley of the Northwest Territories with the Headless Valley.
Yep, same thing. This is well reported, and even from the upper East Coast and anywhere where there's ancient reports of, especially the natives having wars with them and stuff like that. That's always reported as that's how they kill them. They just twist their heads off.
Why so violent? Just angry, or that's just
well, they're deep in this thing's territory where nobody could usually go because it was super dry. Nobody could usually get there. There were earlier reports that another team in right around 1800 had gotten lost in there and had run into some huge people that were supposed to live on this island out in the middle of the Okefenokee that had gave them food and said, go away before the males show up. And the other thing is, of course, they're not only usually territorial, but they don't like lots of loud noise. So all these guys firing off muskets at the same time would have made a racket like an artillery attack that would have definitely twerked them off. And the other thing is, don't forget, they were already following his trail for several days. And, they don't like it when you're trailing them, and then you got all kinds of guns and yada, yada, yada. So I'm sure whatever kind of creature it was well aware they were following it and was not at all happy about it.
Would you consider this creature to be kind of like a rogue pod? Like, look, killer whales aren't dangerous to humans, but there are rogue pods that will attack human beings. And when I look at Sasquatch, when El Ovni Volador looks at Sasquatch, he sees a creature that is very, domesticated to its territory. He sees a creature that wants to be left alone. He sees a creature that really doesn't want human interaction. Yet in certain pockets, these creatures tend to be extremely violent, and more than just a steel chair to the back here. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And look at the two examples that we've just been given. Okefenokee, middle of the friggin' swamp. How impenetrable is that? They're simply not used to any humans intruding their territory. Okay, Nahanni Valley. How impenetrable and isolated is that? They're simply not used to humans being in their territory, and they're not willing to put up with it. And you got two different things going on in the Nahanni. You've got the Naha tribe that flat out disappeared, and their description is really weird. Like they're Neanderthals with Bronze Age armor, weird looking, and they just vanished. And they were supposed to be super deadly and warlike. And then you've got the Nakani, which is apparently the local extremely ugly tempered Sasquatch that will twist your head off.
All because you can't get a date for prom.
Yep. And they just don't like people in their territory. The Nahanni Valley is just a really, really weird place. I do not recommend going there.
I look at it as like this, okay? The more north you go, the bigger the animals get. Look, in Canada, in the lower part of Canada and in the United States, sure, there's grizzly bears. But when you start getting into Kodiak bears and polar bears, and you hear of these 10 to 15 foot Sasquatch that are in those areas, you hear of, moose going, like moose in my area, a big bull moose is probably 1,500 pounds. You go up to Alaska, it's 2,000.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is bigger up there. Yet if you head south towards Louisiana, the Texas border, Arkansas in there, we're hearing of a smaller creature, maybe 6 to 7 feet, but aggressive and wicked as anything. Now, the only combination that I see that would have any kind of correlation to each other would be the dangers of the territory. Is that what you're seeing?
Absolutely. It's the same thing that happens with bears. If you're down by, the southern border of the U.S., what few bears there are, little bitty things, 200-300 pounds. You get up here and then you've got black bears that are 600-700 pounds. And then you've got grizzlies that are 1,000. You get up there north of where you are, the grizzlies, 1,200 pounds, Kodiak bears, 1,500 pounds, polar bears, 2,000 pounds. And that's just a natural law. The further north you go, the animals tend to be bigger. But there's another layer on this about the Nahanni Valley, which is that valley has been volcanically heated for a long, long, long time. So long, in fact, that the geologists assure us that it was not covered with glaciers for at least 3 million years. So while everything else in the North American continent was getting chewed up by glaciers over and over again, that valley wasn't, and whatever was living in it can still be there.
Is it the size that makes it aggressive? The 10 to 15 footers, I can't see much pushing those around, Duke.
No. Well, I mean, as far as that goes, we've got ones that are, between 10 and 15 feet, even here in Montana. You don't have to go way up north for that. They do get to get bigger, where more land, more food resources, less pressure on them allows them just to be bigger, basically, I think is what it, and of course, further north you go. And that's the conservation of heat. If you've got larger body, you can conserve more heat. So it makes the animals tend to be bigger.
Okay, so the aggressiveness, we also saw this in, the old story of Mount St. Helens and Ape Canyon, when they attacked the hunters who had shot at them. Is this the same type of aggression we're talking about, or was Ape Canyon more of a defensive measure?
Oh, I totally think it's a defensive measure. And guess you've had on the show before, Blaine Tyler, Canada's greatest researcher. He's looked into it, and he agrees, because the things were just following them around, being curious, until one of the miners shot one and dropped it off a 500-foot cliff into a ravine. That's when they got aggressive. That's when they show up and started attacking the cabin. So those guys totally asked for it. There are other instances where these things will just attack you out of the blue because you are in the wrong place and they're not willing to put up with it. But those cases are really rare. A lot of the reports you hear of, violent Bigfoot encounters, if you really go look into them, there's no there. You can't find the victim. You can't find any evidence who this victim supposedly was. It's, clickbait stories. There are some violent attacks. There are some people that disappear. And some of it is Bigfoot related, but it's a lot less common than people want to think it is.
We got 2 minutes to go here before we have to say goodnight to you, Big Bad Duke. And I'm just wondering, as moving forward, are we going to start hearing more and more of these types of stories of aggressive Sasquatch as we start pushing deeper into the forest?
I wouldn't expect it to pick up, really. If anything, people are going into the forest less than they were 20 years ago. There's less hunters. There's less people that are going out hiking deep, far into the woods. And part of it is just because they don't have the skills to do it. Some of these places are so impenetrable. If you can't go out in the bush by yourself for 2 weeks, you're just not even going there. So some of the areas that people used to be in, that they had cabins, or they were out there doing, river trade and getting animals pelts and that kind of stuff, that's not going on anymore. There's actually less people out in the backcountry than there used to be. So I would expect, if anything, the amount of violent behavior from them is probably going to go down. Everybody's playing with computer games instead of being out in the woods.
Very true. Very true. What do you do for your own safety if you encounter an aggressive Sasquatch? 1 minute.
Try not to. Don't go into areas where they're aggressive. Always scout the area you're going to do research in a lot before you let your guard down. In my favorite research area, they actually like me, so I count on them to protect me from bears and mountain lions. And when there's a 12-foot Sasquatch following you around, bears and mountain lions will not be anywhere near you.
One good fight. One good fight. The only way to tame a mountain lion is to have a Sasquatch give it a swat on the hiney. That's it.
It's like Andre the Giant booting a house cat. It's not going to be much of a fight.
Very true. Very, very true. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. We absolutely love this new feature that we are doing 2 times a week, talking everything cryptid with you, my friend. And
quick shout out before I go. I got to give some credit where it's due. Group Investigating Mystery Primates helped me find a better version of this story at the last minute tonight. They're on MeWe and on Facebook. They are archivist researchers, Group Investigating Mystery Primate, or GIMP for short.
All right. World Bigfoot Radio on YouTube. Make sure you go hit subscribe on that for the big man, Duke Sullivan, coming up next. It's Dave 101. We got Shirky Poo's news and the thought of the day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Thank you, Super Duke.
Thanks for letting me get that in, Dave. Those guys really scrambled at the last minute. And I'm like, I can't find the long version of this story. And he went, hold on. I think I can get it.
I'm going to let you go here. I got to run my dog outside. I'll be right back, okay?
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Here's a good poll question. I'll be right back, guys. Finally, ridded myself of that jerk. Helovny Volador. Hey, Bill WD-40 over on Spreaker. How you doing, buddy? I hope Helovny didn't piss too many people off tonight. He can be a real jerk. I don't even want to scroll back in the chat room to see what that idiot was saying. Hey, Noble Patrick. I thought you weren't making it tonight. Glad you're here, man. Thank you to Nicole, Dirt Road, Kira, Michael, Jeremy, Linda, and Apollo for the amazing super chats tonight. It's a wonderful way to support our show. Here we go. Rounded third, we're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again where I give my thoughts and my opinions with Dave 101.
It's time for Dave 101.
All right, here's where I want to go with this tonight because I think it's a very important topic, and that is the knowledge of indigenous people when it comes to everything from star people to the cryptid world. Now, as many of you know, we lost Butch Witkowski just a week ago, and we have been absolutely destroyed by the loss of this great man who was very, very loved in the Spaced Out Radio world. And I'm still bothered by that. But we also lost another legend this week by the name of Clifford Mahooty. Now, Clifford, who had never appeared on this show, we tried hooking up with him a few times, but we could never seem to punch anything down. He passed away peacefully in his sleep. He was from the Zuni Pueblo tribe in New Mexico. He was a very, very intriguing speaker when it came to the connection between the indigenous and those of the star people and the connections that were made by all of them. Now, up here in British Columbia, where I live, we are very proud of our indigenous communities. However, when it comes to the cryptid world and the UFO world, the spirit world, the extraterrestrial world, we never seem to take the opinions of First Nations people very seriously. I think, personally, we are missing out on a plethora of answers that go along to the questions that we have wondered, especially in the last 50 to 70 years. Indigenous people have been here since the beginning. They are one with the land, they are one with the tales, they are one with the legends, and they are one with the knowledge that is passed down generation to generation to generation, so on and so on. Now, ever since the white people showed up, and no, we're not making this a racist thing, we have used our Caucasian Christian science to say, no, that's not how things work. Yet, maybe they were right. Maybe we were wrong. For example, in my area, where I have talked to many indigenous elders regarding monsters, cryptids, star people, I have learned a number of things. I have learned which creatures are around our area and which are not. I have learned which ones I can approach and which ones I should not. I have learned the safety to make sure that me and my friends, when we go out searching for these cryptid creatures, that we're not going to be attacked or killed. Take the story from me, my buddy Mark, and Merle. When we were in the forest back in October of 2018, and we were chased out by 2 Sasquatch. They could have heard us. That one came within 20 feet of Merle. Could have heard him, but it didn't. We have to open up our eyes to the fact that there could be non-scientific answers to some of these otherworldly problems that we are facing on this planet. If we opened up our eyes and our minds and maybe took in a sweat, maybe took in hours upon hours upon hours of research with First Nations indigenous people, we might be farther ahead in trying to figure out what is truly happening at Skinwalker Ranch. What truly happens when you get involved with a Skinwalker or a Wendigo or Little People or the Green Men or aliens, Sasquatch, Dogman, ghosts, spirits. The First Nations and Indigenous seem to have many answers that they are no longer willing to give us for reasons that are very understood. We have belittled their answers. We have made fun of their information that they were so willing to provide at one point. We have talked about them as fools, as ignorant, uneducated. And yet here we are today, still seeking the same answers as we were years ago. We are no further ahead on learning about what extraterrestrials want. I still believe that comes down to the people who have been contacted. For thousands of years, indigenous people have claimed to have contact with star people. I remember talking to one elder around here, Mr. Archie, who told me point blank he wished the star people would leave his people alone finally, because he was sick and tired of seeing people get dropped off right in the middle of the highway. How scary is that? He wishes that he could take us up to see the town of the Little People in the mountains, only if the Great Bear Spirit would let us by. Unfortunately, we haven't taken that chance yet. I have heard many stories of Sasquatch carrying indigenous people out of their homes and singing and sitting by a fire very peacefully and delightfully enjoying time together. I have heard of stories of spirit coming in and taking the time to sing with elders during drumming sessions. I have seen the scary stories that indigenous people have told me about the Little People, that when you upset them, they will make sure that revenge is theirs by stealing your favorite things, stealing your car keys, stealing your jewelry, until you make an offering of peace and apologize to them. Only then will they return the objects. We are dealing with people who understand what is going on in the ethereal world that we, as common people on this continent, do not understand. Imagine if we took the time to open up, if mainstream science took the time to listen to the stories, to listen to the legends, rather than barrel-chested pumping and saying, we know better. I think personally that First Nations people and indigenous people around this continent of North America are playing us for fools. What is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. I believe the First Nations people and indigenous people, when it comes to cryptids, when it comes to star people and the paranormal, truly are laughing at us as investigators, researchers, and scientists because we're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Insane, isn't it? Look, you may not agree with what I'm saying, and that's quite okay. But I would highly suggest, if you have the opportunity and build the trust with people who are of indigenous culture, the stories that they will tell you are second to none. The information, if they trust you, that you will gain will only help you in your own search for your answers, your connection to the star people, your connection to the cryptid world, your connection to Mother Earth. We can all learn. It doesn't hurt. Even if the First Nation indigenous people are wrong, it does not hurt to gain their knowledge and trust. Number one, because we're human beings, and we should all be looking forward to treating each other the way we want to be treated. Number two, maybe, just maybe, they do have the answers. They have connected with the spirit world, the cryptid world, and the star world in order for us to figure out everything from longevity in life to just basic humanity. That's the way it is. It doesn't need to be more difficult than that. However, pride, knowledge, textbooks, education seem to get in the way of that, which is too bad, because I believe we are missing out on a lot of information that we could use to advance our own research. Maybe they have the answers. I think they do. However, can we put our pride to the side? So far, we talk a big game, but we haven't done it yet. Do we even want to do it? Do we know how to do it? All you can do is ask. So if you live near indigenous reservations or reserves, depending on what side of the border you're on, ask some questions. Learn the culture. Learn how tobacco and berries and fish and other little minuscule objects can be taught from the First Nations to make a gifting site so Sasquatch doesn't want to rip your head off, like Duke from World Bigfoot Radio said. We don't need that. People like Butch Witkowski were very, very honored to meet with First Nations people, to learn about creatures like the Dogman, to learn about the paranormal, to learn about this bipedal canine, to learn about UFOs and Sasquatch. Every time he had the opportunity to sit down with an American Indian and find out their indigenous beliefs on it, he took it. He did. And this is why it's important, not just because Butch did it, but because we could all learn different answers. And when you are dealing with a field like us, who has no answers going in, we only have estimations, we only have opinion, we are leaving the biggest resource on the table that we possibly could have. How many more footprints of Sasquatch do we need to find? I mean, sure, I would love to be in the forest and cast my own, but how many more do we need? How many more do we need to understand? How could we be looking for skinwalkers if we don't know where they came from? The First Nations do. I don't think many people have asked at Skinwalker Ranch, the local tribes around there, on whether or not they could help with what's going on. That's something to ask Brandon Fugel. But either way, if you get an opportunity out there to meet and gain the trust of somebody of Indigenous descent, to learn their stories, to learn their backgrounds, you may, just may, get a little further on your own quest to learn what's going on with you or the subjects you are interested in. Keep an open mind, because there are answers out there that just maybe the Indigenous have, and we haven't figured out that mystery yet. That is your Dave 101. Do me a favor, leave an answer and a comment below if you agree or disagree with me. I would love to read your responses, and thank you for tuning us in. Let's get to Shirky Poo's news. Shirky Poo, what do you got for us? Wow, let's start off over in Japan, where perhaps we are beating a Roswell ET to death over here, but it's beyond doubt that aliens are totally, obviously, unmistakably here in Japan and around the world. So, here's where it gets interesting. A dying Japanese mountain town in Fukushima that has long dealt with copious amounts of UFO sightings, strange magnetic energy fields, and mysteriously placed boulders in and around the area. In fact, Ino, is so small that the UFO stuff is really the only thing they've got going for them. And you know what? They're totally cool with it, the citizens are. I just feel that the UFOs can help to liven up this town, local researcher Ryuichi says. Hanako Montgomery, the reporter working on this story, fascinating, and Aso and others are also committed to the further sentiment that there is even a very impressive retro-futuristic looking UFO investigation center and museum in Ino. Actually, we should probably clarify, there are a couple of research centers there. Instead of the many varieties of all-American paranoia we're used to over on this side of the pond, Ino residents sound like they are really optimistic and happy about being in the intergalactic hub. We're here too, on the other side of the distant sky. I think they just wanted us to know that, one UFO witness offers at one point, with another later adding, I'm often asked somehow by someone, how do we see a UFO? But the main thing is to be curious about the sky and the wide world. Be aware of it and try to solve the mysteries one by one. How good is that advice? I think there are these little hot spots all over the world. I really do. All right. As one of the best soccer players to ever live, George Best famously ghosted past offenders as if they weren't even there. Now his ex-wife Alex has revealed she believes he could be still ghosting around, but this time as a spirit in her Surrey home. Since the soccer star's death 16 years ago, model Alex has experienced strange phenomena and goings-on which she has never been able to explain. Items vanishing from sight only to reappear in the middle of a room many months later, heavy furniture moving, lights flicking off and on, and the television suddenly bursting into life with no human interference. I'm convinced spirits have come to visit my 200-year-old house, she says, and now I think George could have been one of them. Indeed, the star's first ever spooky experience came on the day Manchester United icon George was buried on December 3rd, 2005, after his death at age 59. On the day of George's funeral, I was staying at a hotel in Belfast, recalls Alex. I remember it was an early start that day, and obviously it was very emotional. Just as I was leaving through the hotel door, the shower turned on full blast on its own. Determined to get to the bottom of the ghostly goings-on at the farmer's farmhouse, farm worker's cottage where she lives. Alex enlisted the help of a paranormal professionals from Discovery Plus new TV series called Celebrity Help, My House is Haunted. And in an astonishing moment caught on camera, a book by itself shoots out from the back of the shelf around 6 inches. When investigator Barry Guy looks, he finds it is an authorized biography of George Best. I don't think that's coincidence. Alex says, who turns 50 later this month, I've got so many books on the bookshelf. I've got books on films, antiques, and all different autobiographies, and yet the book that shot out was George's. That moment really made me think that he could be one of the spirits. The team then tells Alex it's highly unusual to capture such apparently startling supernatural movements on camera. That is, they say, unless the spirits want to attract attention. All right, let's continue on with the news. A group of researchers has launched the first ever archaeological study of humans in space, observing the lives of the crew living on the International Space Station. The experiment, which will analyze and document the unique microsociety in a mini world, began this week with Associated Professors Alice Gorman and from Flinders University in Australia and Justin Walsh from Chapman University in California leading the effort. We're the first to try and understand how humans relate to the items they live with in space, he said. And Walsh added, by bringing up archaeological perspectives to an active space domain, we're the first to show how people adapt their behavior to a completely new environment. Imagine that. How about just moving across a province or state? That'll get you the exact same thing. But then again, I'm not that smart. Thought of the Dave goes like this. Tell me about your ET contact. Danny, my brother smashed the ET VCR tape over my head. Kenneth, September 26, 2015, night of the blood moon and eclipse. I felt like an MRI feeling. I stood underneath one of the craft. I seen a lot that night, but this was part of it. Jacques, in a dream. Or was it a dream? Terry, well, I started listening to SOR 2 years ago. I think Dave's an alien ET. Nora, you know some of it already. That's because we interviewed you. And finally, Melinda, well, I think you know this, and I assume it's straightforward, the basics. I'm a lifelong ET contactee, and I love it. Thank you, Melinda, and everyone. Thank you to Shirky Poo for the news, Super Duke for the cryptid report, and Paul Hamden and Swamp Dweller for joining us tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. That was a good show. Paul Hamden was an amazing dude. Like, that's the kind of guy you definitely want to hang out with. You know what I'm saying? We own the night, people. Same with them aliens. They own the night, too. All right. Let's go like this. those there. Thanks, Tits McGee. Your reporting on our show was exemplary. Just saying. High quality journalism there. All right, let's clear that out. Clear that out. Clear that out. Move that over there. And let's go monetize this. And there. And go there. Save. Mm-hmm. All right. My power chords are struggling these days. I've had to take some time off my guitar lessons because my days off are getting more and more busy with work, daytime, and trying to jam things into the show here and trying to improve. This year is a real movement year for me with SOR. And I am trying my damnedest right now in order to find business ways to attract more radio stations and attract more potential sponsors and everything. So that's eating up a lot of my time right now. I wish I had time. Yeah, I mean, it isn't for the love. My son is still going to lessons weekly. He's still practicing 3-4 times a week. He's becoming amazing. He really is. But, you know, my problem is there's only so many hours in a day and you have to commit. And I'm okay to committing and everything like that. But, you know, when you're working 2 full-time jobs, sometimes, guys, you don't see me in between my one shift and then coming into this shift here. And I need to be able to concentrate, you know, like I said in my Dave 101 there, you know, doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results is the sign of insanity. And I don't want to be insane, you know, finishing up 2022 with everything looking the same as it did in 2021. So, hey, Skip to my Lou, how are you? So, you know, I mean, hey, if I'm down to one job, you know, and I'm paying my bills off of one job, I'll get right back on guitar because I love playing guitar. Barely Sovereign Farts, barely, you know. So that is kind of where I am at with everything. It is not a love, that's for sure. But I'm also getting a lot more enjoyment in watching my son improve. That is probably the biggest thrill for me. I mean, watching where he was 6 months ago when he first started, 7 months ago when he first started guitar lessons to where he is now. You know, him and his teacher have a very, very strong bond. And you know, my boy loves his guitar teacher so much that, you know, after every lesson, he goes and gives his guitar teacher a big hug to say thank you for being awesome. Literally, it stuns me that he you know, cares about his guitar teacher that much. I hope he keeps it up, Brazel. I do, because I think it's a very, very healthy. I mean, dude. I mean, you're amazing on guitar, dude. If anybody wants to see some serious rock and roll, go check out Brazelhoff's channel and listen to him pound. It's amazing. You are so talented, dude. They play the right kind of music too. Even though you play a reverse headstock. Yeah. What am I doing here? Oh, yeah, I'm cutting up audio. So there's just some things I'm working on that are coming down the pike here soon. And hopefully they'll improve on the changes that I'm trying to make with SOR. And, we'll see where it goes. I had a good meeting with someone the other day who used to do YouTube marketing, and I learned a lot there. And, you got to keep pushing forward. Have to. That's right, Tits McGee. 60% of the time, it works every time. It's made with real Black Panther. Apparently smells like Bigfoot's dick, but that's okay. Any other questions while I'm editing here? You started it, Tits McGee. You totally started it. Hey, Tom, how are you, man? Oh, Tom. Chris Holm, by the way, thank you for that awesome super chat. I really do. I did catch it. I really appreciate that. I should put that up. There it is. Thank you so much, my friend. How's your show doing? Where is the start of this half hour? Right there. Merle and I are going to be starting a new project soon. And when that happens, I hope that you guys all go support that, because we could use your support. I'm not going to say what it is. We're still a week or two from getting everything ready. This is orange. It's my second favorite. Pineapple would be my first. I didn't care for the grape one. Oh, hey, you guys are more than welcome to stay here. Hang on out. Be my guest. Hey, Knight Rider, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Vaping with Dave. Dave, Vapo1. That ain't it. Where's the start? There it is. Hi, gorgeous Larry. I had a Subway steak and cheese sandwich with cream of broccoli soup earlier today for dinner. I was like, oh, hell yes. Oh, hell yes. I don't know what it is about Subway's cream of broccoli soup, but it is very good. It really is. They don't have the do they have the rotisserie chicken here? I don't know. Where is this one? Right there. All right. So for those of you going to the Vegas party, I am going to be booking the. Oh shoot! I'm going to be booking the what am I booking? The meeting room, the conference room this week, maybe tomorrow. I got to get a contract signed. I've got the contract in my email that I got to get taken care of. No John Hudson tonight. He's every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Hey, thank you, Game Bet. Yeah, I'm going to talk to them. I might. I don't know if I'm staying at the Golden Nugget or I'm going to stay downtown yet. I don't know. I mean, I kind of look at the old strip. I'm like, you know what? That's a pretty easy place for us to all kind of gather. But I really love the main strip. This is the issue. But if I'm getting such a kick-ass deal on the conference room, I almost feel obligated to stay at the Golden Nugget, which is absolutely gorgeous, by the way. If you haven't been there since they remodeled it a few years ago, it is stunning. I don't know. I do have to make that decision quite soon, though. Well, that sucks about the meatloaf dude, Michael Lee a day. And known as Meatloaf. One sec here, guys. It's terrible. Can't believe Meatloaf is now dead. How's the fedora wearing John Hudson doing? Well, he said goodnight. He's logging off. Well, thank you. I'm glad you did there, Ethereal Aura. Excuse me. Hey, Mr. Catfish, how you doing? Yes, Meatloaf passed away. It's all on Twitter right now if you hashtag Meatloaf. Oh, hold on. I got a hair in my eye. Well, there it is. Hold on. And here's the full statement. I'll read it here. Hold on. I accept. Let's go to that. So announced on Facebook a little while ago. Our hearts are broken to announce that the incomparable Meatloaf passed away tonight with his wife Deborah by his side. Daughters Pearl and Amanda and close friends have been with him throughout the last 24 years. His amazing career spanned 6 decades, saw him sell well over 100 million albums worldwide, star in over 65 movies, including Fight Club, Focus, Rocky Horror Picture Show, and Wayne's World. Bat Out of Hell remains one of the top 10 selling albums of all time. We know how much he meant to so many of you, and we truly appreciate all the love and the support as we move through this time of grief and losing such an inspiring artist and beautiful man. We thank you for your understanding of our need for privacy at this time. From his heart to your souls, don't ever stop rocking. It's terrible. We'll tweet that out. Got a capital letters here. Terrible. Terrible. All right. Oh, yeah, of course that one stalled. Of course it did. Why would it continue? Let's cancel that. Yes. Transfer. Thanks, Tony D. Yeah, Paradise by the Dashboard Light. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. Bat Out of Hell was great. Just type in hashtag RIP Meatloaf. Take you right there on Twitter. That one's done. Like this. Put these in here. And this. Excuse me. And then upload these. Hi, Carbine's right. How you doing, buddy? Yeah, I use TweetDeck too. Thurston Howell III. What is happening, man? All right, let's go like this. Do I have a file for that? No, I don't. Create one. There, put that in there. Put that in there. That in there. Put that in there. And we'll send that over to Merle. Damn Smith. I know that feeling. I know that feeling. Let's get rid of that troll. Blocked. Sunsaber, how are you? All right, let's share this. Got all of it good. Perfect. All right, everyone. We're going to say goodnight to all of you. Tomorrow night on the show, we end the week with Nomar Slevik. We are talking about UFO encounters and a book that he has out on the subject on strange encounters. It's going to be a great show. Another UFO. I know you love your UFOs, people. So let's just do it right then and there. And so that's what we are going to be talking about tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Want to say that a big thank you to Apollo, Linda, Jeremy, Michael, Kira, Dirt Road, Nicole, and Chris for the amazing super chats tonight. Really do appreciate the love. It's a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. And trust me, guys, I know you already know this, but we work really hard as a team for all of you. So anything you guys could give through the super chat, we really do appreciate it. Want to say a big thank you to all the veterans out there for tuning us in and helping us grow as well. We love you. Thank you for your service. And thank you to everyone who comes in here nightly to hang on out with us. With that note, we're going to stir up the band here. Send you on your way. Take care.